Hey everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of Coast and Friends, my feature podcast where I'm just going to have on a bunch of my close friends, talk about whatever we want to talk about, do a little deep dive on them, get to know them a little bit more personally, and we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited to finally start this. Today, my first guest, very excited to talk about stuff with you, the one and only Mammoth Boy, RogersBase. What's up, man? Hey, that didn't even pick up. I'll take it. I'll accept that one. Yeah, for people who don't know you, do you want to just give yourself a little introduction? Eight. Oh wait, he's muted. Wait, what? How is he muted? What? I gotta start this again. Hold up. Why are you muted?
Hear me?
How about this? Say
Is your
something?
desktop audio on?
It's because I got new headphones. All right, we'll start again. Hey, we'll do it again. We'll go. Hey, we'll go again. I might just leave this in. I might just leave it in. Yeah, I got new headphones. That's why. All right, he's good now, right? All right. Hey, first time for everything. Anyways, hey everyone, welcome to the inaugural episode of Coast and Friends. Technical difficulty there, but we're all good now. Coast and Friends is my startup podcast. I'm gonna be talking to a bunch of my close friends and internet personalities, just get to know them a little bit more better and learn more about them. And today, again, first person I wanted to talk to, one and only Mammoth Boy, RogersBase. How's it going?
Thank you very much. It's going well. It's going well, and I have to do it again because the mic didn't pick it up before. Hello, Nintendo game.
It's still kind of not picking it up, but I'll take it again. I'll take it nonetheless.
That's incredible.
I think your mic has that setting where if you get too loud, it's like, hey, whoa.
It just mutes the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
like, listen, we don't want you doing this.
You have the
How do you do it on Japan time then? Do you just like let the thing peak?
Yeah, it just peaks. That's part of the charm to it. I just let that peak.
Oh, all right. Well, that's fine. A pleasure talking to you as always. Yeah, I mean, this is great. Thanks for choosing me as the very first guest. I am curious as to why. You were concerning me before we started recording. You're like, now, is there anything you don't want to touch on? I'm like,
well,
what's going on?
No. Again,
the
the reason I say that is because I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. During this, I want to respect people and their boundaries. So. Yeah, no, the reason I picked you first is because I feel like it's the most, or not the most, but one of the most comfortable options I could pick with someone to talk to, where obviously it's the first time I'm doing this by my own. And if I were to get someone, that I don't really talk to on a regular basis, it might be a little bit awkward, but
true.
But yeah, again, if you want to give yourself an introduction for people who may not know who you are.
Sure, yeah. I'm RogersBase, so I go by RogersBase pretty much everywhere. Roger DeLuigi is my actual real name. Yes, people say, oh my god, I can't believe you have the Willa D. You cover One Piece. Yes, DeLuigi is the last name. But I cover, One Piece, Attack on Titan, a bunch of different anime series, video games, whole bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel. I stream every week on Twitch 3 times a week. And I host Japan Time with Coast and with Shofu and with Zeph and a bunch of other awesome people. And we talk about Nintendo and Smash and Rouge the Bat and a whole bunch of crazy off-the-wall topics every other week. So
yeah, Japan Time I think this year is going to be coming to seven years now.
That's right, 7 years. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to announce something soon about about the future of the podcast. We've been working on that past couple months, but it's sort of been stagnant for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we're able to talk about it, we will absolutely be able to fill you guys in on it. It's going to be good.
Exciting stuff. Yeah, I feel like we've been working on stuff for a while, and now it's finally coming to fruition. But
yes, sir.
yeah, I'm super happy I'm there, and I've been there for near close the inception of it, because
because what episode did you join on?
I don't remember specifically, but it was very early on, because I remember I was in a Skype call with Dan is Zeph. Anytime I refer to Zeph in any of these podcasts, it's gonna be by the name Dan.
Dan.
Yeah. No, I was in a Skype call with Dan and a bunch of other friends, and he was like, "Hey, I'm in this podcast with a bunch of other people, and we need more people. Do you want to join?" And I was like, I have nothing else better to do. Sure, why not? Well, I'll jump in on this podcast. And I think at the time it was you, Shofu, Dan, Ricky, and one other person.
Black Blastoise.
I think that's who it was. Yeah, I think it was Black Blastoise. Yeah, super early. Yeah. And I don't think there were many episodes out at the time. I think there were maybe less than 10.
Yeah, I feel like you've pretty much been there since the beginning. Like, I consider you an original member.
If you go back and you find those early episodes, you can tell, like, by my voice how long ago it was, because it was we were doing it on Skype. That's how you can tell how long ago it was. But yeah, it's been cool. It's definitely been an experience, along the way.
I was trying to think, what was the first character that you were present for in terms of like a big reveal on Japan Time? I feel like it was Greninja.
Though as far back as my brain goes, it is Greninja, because I remember the Mewtwo trailer.
That's right. Where we all thought it was Mewtwo.
Yeah,
right?
That's as far back as I can go.
And actually, you have the designated honor of being in my very first standalone Smash reaction on my YouTube channel ever. So I had never done a Smash reaction at that point. I feel like, Etika really paved the way for so many of us. And I was just like, okay, well, if people want this, I'm going to, record my reaction to this. And I remember it was the Robin, Lucina, Crom, Captain Falcon one. This is back when I lived at like my old
I remember that. Yeah.
LA. Yeah, and I called you up on Skype, and I'm like, hey, I need somebody to be in this with me, because I feel like it's going to be cringy, and I can't upload this on my own. And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? So we're in that call, and you could hear the very beginning of it when we see it's Lucina and Captain Falcon. We don't even know at that point. We just see Lucina, and you go, God damn it, Fire Emblem, God damn it.
Hey, history
so
repeats
if anybody's
itself.
ever interested, go back and watch that video, because that's when we thought like Crom might also be a character as well, because the way that it was worded, and it was just like, that still is one of my absolute favorite reactions and trailers that they did during that era. I love that trailer.
It was phenomenal. I just like all the cinematics for all the Smash trailers.
Too.
They're just outstanding. Yeah, but if you have anything else about Japan Time, I kind of want to transition into this little bit I have.
Please.
So I'm not original at all, and I was doing a bunch of research, to put it lightly, over the past week of what I can do with this, and I stole this bit, kind of a bit, not really. It's I looked up a bunch of your Wikipedia pages.
Oh my god!
I want to see how much of this is true.
Oh no!
And if you're willing to correct any of this.
Of course, yeah. Okay. Of course.
So first things first. Obviously,
my Wikipedia pages.
You have a few. A lot of them are very strange, but I kind of combined a lot of information.
Okay, this is gonna be fun. I'm here to debunk them.
So yeah, obviously you said it already. Your name is Roger DeLuigi.
Yep.
Born and raised in Chicago.
Correct. Yes, correct. Technically a suburb of Chicago, but yeah.
Okay. It says here that when you were younger, you liked playing games more on console than PC.
That is 100% true.
That is true?
Yes,
okay.
That is true. Yeah, my first ever game was Banjo-Kazooie on the N64. I could like vividly remember that Christmas even too. And then the next year, which is when I got my next game, I literally just played Banjo-Kazooie for an entire year of my life from like 8 to 9.
I have such a weird old memory with Banjo-Kazooie. I remember my mom would, when we would go to the mall, she would drop me off at like I guess they had like a daycare centers at the mall for some reason in like the late
Okay.
90s. And I remember they would have two TVs there. One had Super Mario 64 and one had Banjo-Kazooie. And all the kids were surrounded by that Mario 64 TV, and I could never play it. So I'd always have to go to the Banjo-Kazooie TV and play that, and I fell in love with that game there. But I never owned a 64 for years after.
Come to think of it, I think Banjo-Kazooie, the first time I ever saw it was in a store at a mall as well. I think it was in my local Toys R Us. And I remember going to the game section and being like, what is this? Because the only games I'd played up to that point were like edutainment games on PC, right? Like jump, 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 start, first grade, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I actually saw Banjo-Kazooie, my mind was completely blown. And, I didn't know what Mario was at the time or Zelda or anything. I was like really, really little. And Pokemon was just starting, and I was really hardcore into the cards, but I wasn't playing the games or anything like that. And so, yeah, first Christmas, Banjo-Kazooie and N64, and then immediately following the next Christmas, I got Game Boy Color, Pokemon Yellow, and then weirdly enough, of all games, Conker's Pocket Tales, and that was where my my whole history with video games started.
Well, that's a great segue because the next little tidbit I have here is in middle school, you heavily played Fire Emblem on the Game Boy.
That is incorrect.
That is
very
incorrect.
much incorrect. Yeah. In what Wikipedia page said I played Fire Emblem on the Game Boy in middle school?
There was a bunch of information that I stumbled upon, and I just combined all of it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. The first Fire Emblem I ever played, I actually was in high school. So I didn't play the original Fire Emblem on GBA that came to North America when it initially came out. I played it after I had played I think it was Sacred Stones was the first one that I played. Mm-hmm. Sacred Stones or Path of Radiance, the one that was on GameCube or
GameCube
the GBA one.
The GameCube is Path of Radiance,
Right.
Game Boy is Sacred Stones.
Right. So I actually think, come to think of it, I think Path of Radiance I rented from my local Family Video when I was in high school. Fell in love with it, but thought it was really hard. And then my buddy Stuart was like, "Oh no, I have the original Game Boy one. You should play this." And the only experience I had with Fire Emblem to that point, and I'm sure this is the case with many of us, was Marth and Roy in Smash Bros. Melee.
Yep.
I mean, that was the only history I had with the series. Yep. And then I fell in love with it, and now Fire Emblem is one of my favorite series of all time. So yeah.
Oh. So what did you play in middle school?
Pokemon. I was like Pokemon all day, every day. A little bit of Sonic, but mostly Pokemon.
I feel like that's the case with everyone. That was like when you're in middle school, you're just Pokemon's the only thing you're playing.
Yeah, I think because I got my GameCube, I was in 6th grade when the GameCube came out, and I got it that Christmas. So technically, I played Luigi's Mansion, Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, Smash Bros. Melee, Kirby Air Ride. I played all of that in middle school, but most of my GameCube memories are probably from high school, like having people over and playing like Star Fox Assault and Smash Bros. And things like that.
Yeah, because I remember when I was growing up, I got my GameCube very early. Like, I've told this story a bunch of times. My mom gave me my GameCube on my, I think it was my 8th birthday or my 7th birthday. I don't remember. How old was I in 2001? I was 6. So I was probably 7. I was turning 7. And she got me a copy of Wind Waker with it. And I would literally only play that and Pokemon Ruby for like the next 5 years of my life.
To be fair, that was pretty much my life for the year that those two games came out. I also, so funny you mention Ruby and Wind Waker being so connected, because they are very, very connected in my brain as well. That was my freshman year of high school, and I remember my grandma was battling cancer. My grandma on my dad's side was battling cancer at the time, and I would go to her doctor's appointments with my mom, and I would sit in the car playing Pokemon Ruby on my Game Boy Advance, and then when we got home, I would play Wind Waker for like an hour.
Exact same thing.
Yeah, so that's so wild that you mentioned that, because those two games, even though they're nowadays you don't think of those two games as being related at all, they were like very much the two big games of that era of my life.
I think Pokemon Ruby was very pivotal into how I enjoyed games later on in life.
Oh, definitely.
When I moved houses from when I moved around a lot when I was younger. I remember when I moved from the house I got that GameCube into a new home, I ended up losing my original copy of Ruby, and I was so distraught over it. I loved Pokemon Ruby that much. I don't know how to put it into words. Like that was literally the only game I played. It was Ruby and Wind Waker until later on when the 360 came out and I just started playing a lot of Halo. But
weird thing about it too is that like Ruby, I do love that original game, like the original Ruby Sapphire Emerald, I love, but I could never get into Oris. And like to the point where I'd say that Oris is probably one of my least favorite Pokemon games of all time. And
really?
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just like the addition of like the weird Mega Evolution stuff or the way that they like redid some of the sound fonts and remixed the music. I just it did not click with me. I think the best example of that is Mauville City or Mauville Town, the one with the electric gym leader, where they turned it into this like hub city. And that was absolutely not what it was in the original game. So I get there and I'm like, this is not the Pokemon that I remember. And having just come off like Heart Gold, Soul Silver at the time and absolutely loving what they did with those games. And I think both of us would probably agree that's like the best remake they've ever done is Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
That's the best Pokemon game in my opinion.
Yeah. So coming off of that and then going into Ruby and Sapphire, it was a huge disappointment.
You see, I feel like I'm the complete opposite. Well, not the complete opposite, but I feel like I was blinded by nostalgia and like I was like, this game isn't that bad. I don't see why everyone thinks it's that bad. I actually like it, but I can see where people have their grievances with it. But I think me growing up and playing it so much had an effect on later on when Oris came out, and I still liked it. Not as much, but
I think to me it's like the quirkiness of the original Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald. It's like it is the sound fonts, it is the trumpet, it's the weird way that like you'll be on some routes and the only Pokemon that'll be there is like Corsola or like just, the way that they distributed Pokemon in that game is just very, very bizarre.
I agree.
But because of all the weird stuff that I like it so much because it feels so different from anything else. It's like a very unique experience.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
What else did you play? Was that pretty much it? Just Pokemon?
I mean, yeah, like I was huge into Pokemon, pretty much anything Nintendo, honestly. I was just like, I grew up a Nintendo kid. My best friend growing up, John, he had like all the PlayStations. And then my other buddy, John, I had two different friends, John, had an Xbox. And so I would go to John N's house and we would play Xbox, and I would go to John V's house and we would play
so you had the best
pretty much
of
all
both
the PlayStation
worlds.
games. I had the best of both worlds, but I was exclusively a Nintendo kid growing up. Like my parents said, you get one system, you stick with that one system. And there will never be a day in which I'm not grateful that I grew up a Nintendo kid.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was the kid that always went to other people's houses because I wasn't able to get too many video games. Because I remember I had a PS2 my dad got me, and I had very little games. And I remember when the Xbox 360 came out, I wanted it so bad that I literally went to EB Games. That's like the Canadian version of GameStop. I went to EB Games and I traded in all of literally every single video game I had just to get the 360, and I regret that till this day.
You mentioned 360. I have a funny story about that era in which how I got a Wii. So Wii came out in 2006, right?
Yep, 2006.
So I was a sophomore in high school, and I got pretty good grades except for in math. I did miserable in math, like all through high school. I was forced to do like honors classes and AP classes that I was just like not ready for. I've never been a good math kid in the first place, and so my grades were really, really bad in math. And my parents were like, "We know every Christmas we'll get you the new system or a new game or something, but this year you're not going to get the Wii." And obviously the Wii was hard to find at the time too, so I'm sure that played a part of it. But they were like, "Nope, you're not going to get the Wii. We're not going to get it for you. Your grandparents are going to get it for you. You're not going to get a Wii, so just like stop asking about it." And I just remember being super bummed out that holiday. And Pokemon Battle Revolution in particular, there was an early trailer of that game that had Groudon shooting a hyper beam into the ground and it like destroyed
I love that game.
Dude, it was so sick. I thought it looked like amazing. And there was a Pokemon Battle Revolution tournament that happened at my local GameStop like 4 months after the Wii launched. Or whenever the game came out. So I think it was like 4 or 5 months after it launched. It was like March or April after the Wii's holiday. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to enter this tournament, and the grand prize for winning the tournament is a copy of Battle Revolution. And I said, if I win a copy of Battle Revolution and I'm not going to have a system to play this on, like, will you guys get me a Wii? Like, sure. Yeah, you just have to win
you
this
went
tournament, though.
hard then.
Let me tell you, Coast, I was what, like 16, I guess would have been 2006.
Yeah, probably.
I went hard. I got a Game Shark. I like max
Whew.
EV'd, IV'd all my Pokemon. I showed up there at this tournament. I had like a Rayquaza and a Giratina and all these things with max IVs, max EVs, like obliterating these kids trying to win Pokemon Battle Revolution.
Jesus.
Decimated this entire GameStop, ended up winning the copy of the game, went back home and my mom's like, oh, I'm still not going to buy you the Wii. And so slowly but surely, I saved up for like 4 or 5 months, and then we finally were able to lock down a pre-order at my local Best Buy.
Wow.
Got it with the money that I'd saved up, and then my mom helped me with the additional cash. Wow. And then literally for the first like year of the Wii's lifespan, I only had Battle Revolution because it was the one game that I had for free.
You know what's crazy? There was probably a kid at that same tournament you were at that made that same promise with their parents, and you just 100%. Destroyed them.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm the one who's a YouTuber now, so I feel like it probably meant more to me in the long run. So,
Jesus. Speaking of long run, let's go a little bit into the future here.
All right, let's go.
It says here. I have your high school listed here.
Yes.
Did you have you ever openly talk about your education like that publicly?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. Let's go. Yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, it says you graduated with a bachelor's in theater and in English. I know you graduated with theater, but not with English.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So I went to HF, did broadcasting when I was in high school, theater, choir, all this stuff. Went to college, auditioned for the theater program at UIC, which is the University of Illinois, Chicago. Got into this like really small theater program. So basically they only admit like 10 people each year. And there's 10 for BA and 10 for BFA. And I was fun fact, actually, do you like Hamilton?
I've never watched Hamilton.
Okay, so Pippa, the actress who plays Eliza in Hamilton, she was in my audition group at UIC. And so that was just a fun little anecdote. But I auditioned, I got into UIC, did theater for a long time. And then while I was doing theater, I was obviously still like in love with video games. And so I wanted to do something with social media or, something related to like writing in video games. And so I figured, well, I'm not going to get a job doing like localization at Nintendo by just having a theater degree. So by my second year, even though I was a BA and I could have started doing classes pretty early on, I started like really heavily doing English classes. And then, ended up graduating with a double major in theater and English.
So were you doing your early Nintendo stuff during school, or did you do it after you graduated?
Oh yeah. You want to get into that about the whole history of it? Because it's a long story, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, the RogersBase lore there's a lot of mixation in it because you kind of sprinkled within everything that you could possibly have done.
Yes, and
then you got that one lock with Nintendo, and then you took it and ran with it. So I have here that again, when you were a freshman in college, you did writing for a local gaming website called Gaming Vice.
I did indeed. Yeah.
Wow. So what was Gaming Vice?
So Gaming Vice, this is fun. I'm glad you did this. This is good. You're bringing back memories. So gamingvice.net was a website that existed where we basically just covered the FGC. So we covered mostly fighting games, occasionally Nintendo games. That was like my first in with any PR at Nintendo. That was my first in with like any of these companies. My first interview was done there. I interviewed Seth Killian back when he was working on MVC3. And I was asking him like, oh, what characters are you going to put in? I really want Amaterasu from, Okami. And then they ended up being in the game, which is really cool. But yeah, I worked with like a core group of about like 4 or 5 guys. We wrote about fighting games and just the industry at large. I hosted a podcast there at one point, very shortly lived, called South Without a Candle. It was very much like a Zelda fighting game podcast type thing. It felt a lot like an early Japan time. Okay. And and then I worked for them for about like 2 years. And then basically the main reason I worked there is I really wanted to go that first freshman to sophomore year of college. During the summer, I wanted to go to E3 for the first time. It was always a dream of mine.
Yeah, so this is like you're dipping your toe into journalism.
Yes. Right. Yeah, so I started writing for them basically with the promise of you're going to eventually get to go to E3 over the summer, which I then did. I got to go to my first E3. That was
2009 maybe.
2009. I can tell you the games that were revealed. There was Metroid Other M. It was Mario Galaxy. This is back when they still had like live press conferences, so I was in the audience for these. It was Mario Galaxy 2, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, Metroid Other M, and Golden Sun. What was the second Golden Sun game?
Golden Sun,
Dark Dawn, or
Dark Dawn was the third one on the DS, because there was Golden Sun, there was the Golden Sun, The Lost Age, which is still on Game Boy, and then there was Dark Dawn.
Yeah, it was Dark Dawn. It was Dark Dawn was the other one. Yeah, and so that was my first E3. Yeah, and that was because of Gaming Advice.
So during all of this, were you still RogersBase, or were you under your previous nickname?
Oh, should I reveal my previous nickname?
I have your previous nickname. I'm interested in where into this came from. It says here it was You Already Know.
No.
That's what I have here. It says
You Already Know.
It says your nickname before RogersBase was You Already Know.
No, it's very cringy, but I'm going to tell you it. It was We Will Rock You was my previous nickname.
Was it Wii, like Nintendo Wii?
You already know. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, God. So, during this journalism bit... Oh, what's up?
No, go ahead. I want to see what else you come up with.
No, I was going to say, during this journalism bit, you had your in with E3, and you're off to a great start, obviously.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You have a gig with a decently sized reporting website. You've attended to E3. At this point, are you thinking, I need to expand. I need to build off of this because I have a great opportunity.
At this point, I was definitely still like, I want to be a theater teacher. Okay. Or do something with theater, or definitely still act. And I thought like the video game stuff would just be a fun side thing. Really just like the main reason why I started doing writing for game websites or going to industry events or whatever was so I could go to more industry events. Like I wanted to meet Miyamoto and I wanted to meet Sakurai.
Sure, everyone's dream. Everyone's dream.
Yeah, so that was like my main thing. I was just like, I just want to meet these developers and like be in the room with them, you know? Right. And at the time, E3 was way more closed off than it was, now. Now you could basically just pay to get into E3.
Yeah, earlier E3s was like you needed invitations. You needed to be in. There was a certain clique you needed to be in order to be on that floor.
Yeah, it was the kind of thing where like I eagerly awaited and was scared of rejection letters from E3 every summer. I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be the time where they close it off for us? But no, every year I managed to end up getting in. But you mentioned the old nickname with We Will Rock You. I'll go into a little anecdote that probably is going to transition into something else you dug up about me on these Wikipedia pages. During that second E3, they announced Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box for Nintendo DS.
Okay.
And I was a huge Professor Layton fan, like huge Professor Layton. And I thought like the series really didn't get that much love. So what I did was, this was in the early days of Twitter. I created a Twitter account for Professor Layton under the handle Top Hat Professor. And on this Twitter handle, I would basically tweet out a riddle a day, and I would have my followers like tweet out their answers, and then I would retweet the follower that got the correct answer. And I would do this literally every day over the course of the summer after Diabolical Box came out.
That's a very good like Twitter account. Like that's a good what's the word I'm looking for? Like a viral marketing
idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Right. Yeah.
So what happened was I was doing this like Professor Layton Twitter account, and it got picked up by like a lot of outlets. It got picked up by Kotaku. It got picked up by 1UP at the time, which was like undisputed, like the king of video game news at the time. It was like 1UP and the 1UP show and all that stuff. And they started talking about like, oh yeah, there's this Top Hat Professor account run by Nintendo that's so good. And I'm sitting there, at home being like, this is not run by Nintendo. I can't believe they think this is real. Like, this is amazing. And I got contacted by Nintendo to say, hey, you got to shut this down. Damn. So this was like 2010, I guess. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I don't want to get in trouble or anything like that. So I shut down the account. And my last tweet on the account was revealing like, oh, my name's Roger. I'm a college student who, lives in Chicago, and I write for this small gaming website, and I'm a huge fan of Professor Layton, and it was this whole big fun thing, and like, thanks for being part of this journey. Well, the in-depth detective sleuths on NeoGAF at the time, which was like the really big gaming forum, discovered my personal account on NeoGAF, We Will Rock You, and linked it to old tweets that I had made. And they realized that I basically went on NeoGAF, which I did. I mean, I openly admitted this. I had no, issue with doing this. Is I went on NeoGAF and I posted like, hey, check out this cool new Professor Layton account. Isn't this neat? And it got them really, really, really upset. And then basically I got banned from NeoGAF, which, hooray,
Hey.
now we know the truth about it. So like now it's a badge of honor that I got banned by NeoGaf.
It does not matter anymore at this point. Look where you are now, you know?
Exactly. So I got banned from NeoGaf, and then all these outlets were like interviewing me about it. And at the time, I was like a sophomore, junior in college, and I was going into my junior year at this time. And because it was getting picked up by so many different outlets, and like all these places were interviewing me, they were going like, "Yo, so what do you actually want to do in the industry?" And it was at that time when I realized like, oh, I should probably like start thinking into working for Nintendo or doing something related to video games. If this blew up in the way that it did, and I'm still going to school for theater at the time too, so I'm thinking maybe I could do like voiceover in video games, and I'm still studying English, so I'm thinking maybe I could still do localization. So I was like, you know, throwing everything at the wall, trying to figure out what was gonna end up sticking. And then ultimately what ended up happening was I don't know if they want their name out there, so I'm not going to say their name.
Sure.
But I was contacted by a Nintendo employee who still currently works for Nintendo, who said, hey, just so you know, Nintendo is aware of the Professor Layton thing, not just like the PR marketing side that told you to shut down Professor Layton,
right,
but like the Nintendo side saw this, and like when you leave college, we have a job for you.
Wow.
So at that, I was like, okay, now this is real. This is something I need to actually like buckle down and focus on. And so from like my junior year of college, I started to move away from like the theater side of things and more onto the English side of things. And obviously I was still attending E3 and doing all that stuff and writing for VG Tribune at the time. And yeah, and then little by little, eventually after I graduated, the very first job I got out of college was I was doing product demonstration for Nintendo in Chicago.
And that would have been 2012? I think at that point?
2012. Yeah, it would have been 2012. This was right before the Wii U launch in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you brought it up a little bit, and I actually did not know this aspect of you. Like, like people obviously know about the Nintendo ambassador stuff, or the brand ambassador, and you would work with Nintendo. I never knew a single part about doing voice acting.
I did do voice acting. Yeah. Wow.
What did you do?
Research. So it was all commercial voice acting. None of it was like in anime or anything like that.
Yeah, because in my head I'm like, oh, he's like a Nintendo character that I've never heard of or something.
No,
but
that'd be sick.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I think when you say voice actor. That's just immediately what you synonymize it with. It's a character.
No,
or something.
No. So I was doing a lot of commercial voiceover work, not for Nintendo. It was just for like local businesses that were in Chicago. There's one, I'm sure you could find this somewhere. It's a commercial for Ukes Harley Davidson in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I was a kid basically in this commercial. It was a radio commercial. And the whole premise of the commercial is like it's Christmas. The dad comes back from the motorcycle place and like has a motorcycle sitting in the driveway and is like trying to trick my mom into thinking that Santa Claus brought it. And so I'm looking out the window and I go, Mom, look in the driveway. And then they have whatever the copy bit is, like Ukes, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Harley Davidson dealership, whatever. And I'm like, it's the best. And so it was stuff like that. It was stuff like that. And then while I was doing that, the other side of the acting stuff that I was doing when I was still in Chicago, prior to moving to LA, while still in college, while, then trying to work to do product demonstration stuff during like that weird transition year from like 2013 to 2014, is I was an extra on a bunch of TV shows, and the most prominent one being Shameless. And recently, actually, this came up on one of my live streams. I thought my scene was completely like wiped off the face of the internet. Like,
as most people do.
Deleted it completely. But the scene is actually included on the Shameless deleted scenes for whatever that season is. And I actually linked this in the Japan Time thing a while ago, where you can't see my face, but you can see my shoulder like walking into the bathroom on this episode of Shameless, which is really cool.
Mike Wazowski little.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, it's like a Mike Wazowski kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you literally bounced around every single part of media and entertainment at this point. You've done theater, you've done Nintendo and all that. At what point did you just sit down and start working on YouTube? Because that was early on as well for you. That was I think also 2010, would it not be?
No. I mean, I uploaded my first video to YouTube, but it was not like meant to be a thing that I was doing regularly. The first video I did was for a viral marketing thing that I did for ABC. It wasn't for ABC. I say for ABC. I did work for ABC at one point, but that's like later in my history. Okay. But this was like prior to that. This was when I was still in Chicago, for a TV show called Flash Forward. It only had one season. It was a really good TV show. And I was upset about the fact that they canceled the show in favor of this other really stupid like alien show. So I basically did a grassroots campaign in Chicago to have everybody black out for 2 minutes and 15 seconds in Millennium Park. And I figured, like, if I can get this Professor Layton thing to go viral, I can make this Flash Forward thing viral, and we'll find the showrunners and they'll bring the show back. Was what was going on in my head,
man,
right?
that's a stretch. That's optimistic to the max.
Very, very optimistic. So I recorded a video with my old college roommate and got all these people together to black out in the park.
Okay.
And ABC saw it, and they sent me like a little poster signed by the cast saying, "Thank you for being such a super fan." Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. That like it really like amazes me how like you've taken something so small, not small, but
Sure.
something so diverse, and you built it up to like what you are now. You had that capability of just doing something as best as you can, as efficient as you can, and maximizing as much outcome as possible. I think that's
I
like
appreciate that.
That's like something you're very, very good at.
I'm so used to hearing you roast me on Japan Time. It's odd to hear you praising me.
It's two different environments, right? It's completely two different environments.
Yeah. It's us being friends versus like being in character on the show. I totally agree. Yeah.
I really want to get into the YouTube stuff now because
sure.
I feel like a lot of people want to hear where you started and how you started and how you brought it up, because I have here you originally started uploading various anime series, but then you deleted them.
No. So yes, that's true, kind of, but it's not at the same time period. So the first thing I ever uploaded were like Pokemon battles, like old Wi-Fi battles that I was recording off of my iPad.
Everyone back in 2007 was doing that. Yeah.
And this was right after we had started the first episode of Japan Time, because I've been friends with Shofu for like years. So I met Shofu when he was doing like rating Battle to the Top videos for, it was like probably late Gen 4, early Gen 5. So like we've been friends for over a decade at this point.
Right.
And basically I saw Shofu's videos. This is when I was still working for Gaming Vice. And we basically were like, hey, I'll get you an in for E3 and get you into E3 if you let us post your Pokemon battles to the website. And Shofu was like, yeah, no problem. And so the first time Shofu went to E3, it was actually as a Gaming Vice person. And that's how we got to go to like the roundtable Nintendo events and stuff like that. And so we were buddies for years before we did Japan Time. And me and Ricky were both at the same college. And, we were super excited about Smash Bros. We played like, Project M and Brawl like all the time.
Right.
And we both obviously were friends with Shofu. And we thought, right when Smash 4 was first announced, like, let's do this. Like, let's do a podcast talking about Smash Brothers. And so I hit up Shofu and I'm like, do you mind if we do this on your channel? He goes, no, not a problem at all. We started doing it. And then little by little, people in the comment section were like, man, Roger should really like make his own YouTube channel. He should start uploading things to YouTube. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing at the time. So I was uploading Pokemon battles. I started uploading like, this is the old head, so only a few people remember this. I used to do manga reviews for Attack on Titan and for Aku no Hana, Flowers of Evil, which was like me and Ricky's absolute favorite manga series to read monthly. We would like, literally at the beginning of every month, Ricky and I, we would sit down, I would pull up Attack on Titan, he would read Aku no Hana, we would tell each other, like, hype each other up about it, and then we would read the other series, and then we would call each other. And then we would talk about it for like 2 hours. And that's kind of how we knew that we would be good for a podcast setting. We were just able to sit and talk about sort of nothing. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going like on a bunch of tangents.
No,
but this
please,
is all semi-relevant to like the
please.
beginning. So I started doing, like I said, like Pokemon battles and those early manga reviews. And at the time, I was still really trying to work for Nintendo, so I wasn't uploading as much Nintendo stuff. And at the time, my contract ran out for product demonstration, which was what I was doing in Chicago. I auditioned for like a bunch of plays that were local in Chicago, but I soon realized I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Like, I like being in productions, but like, I like voice acting. I like, hosting and being on camera stuff more than I do like being on stage. So I sort of moved away from doing that. I was working part-time at Armani Exchange, and I was basically applying to everything. I was applying to a bunch of different jobs, mostly on the West Coast. Because primarily I was like, I know I want to work for Nintendo.
Thinking ahead.
So one day I got a call and they were like, hey, there is a not a product demonstrator, but like a product writer position that's opening up, like a product marketing specialist position opening at Nintendo in Seattle. And they were like, you should interview for this thing. Like, you'd be perfect for it. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. So I did the first interview, got through, did the second interview, through, got to the final round interview, and it was a phone interview with Bill Trinan.
Wow.
Bill Trinan is asking me all this stuff about my history with Nintendo and like about the Professor Layton stuff and everything like that. And then basically is like, hey, unfortunately, I'm looking at your resume though, and there's one thing that is like crucial for this position. We need someone who's fluent in Japanese. And at this point, I was like, for a year at this point, like over a year, scrambling to like try to find a job that was going to move me to the West Coast. And so I'm like desperate on this phone call with Bill Trinan. I'm like, look, I will learn Japanese. I'll do whatever it takes. I will move out there. And Bill's like, yeah, okay. You know, like, thank you very much for interviewing, all that stuff. And then that was it.
See, if I was in your position, I would have just said, oh, I guess it's not on there. I actually do know Japanese.
No, well, they were so in order to get that job, you need to take a written Japanese test.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Test for it, which was why he brought it up.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, I'm never gonna get the job there, and like, I'm never gonna work with a Nintendo, and this stinks, and like, this dream that I had is now dead, and so then I just sort of, for the 3 months where I was sad that I didn't get that product marketing job, I hardcore went into doing videos on YouTube. So I started uploading like Pokemon battles a lot, the anime reviews a lot, because I was a fan of King of Lightnings in college and for Neverworlds, and I was like, they're doing anime reviews, why can't I do anime reviews? And I started uploading a lot of that while we were still doing Japan Time. And then during one of the early episodes, I think you were probably on it at this point.
I think Shofu, at this point, like,
yeah, Shofu rated my channel and we got to 10,000 subscribers. And it was like pretty soon after I had started. And at that like 10,000 subscriber point, I uploaded a video to YouTube that is now infamous. That is my cover of Let It Go from Frozen. That video was like really the first real video that I put effort into on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like your most viewed video for a hot minute.
For a long time, it was my number one. Yeah. And so I uploaded that Let It Go song, and it was doing really, really good numbers because at the time, like, nobody was doing Let It Go covers, let alone guys, especially.
Yeah. And
so it was doing really, really well. And, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere because we were still doing Japan Time. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to keep applying to all these other jobs. Well, the now defunct Disney Interactive happened to see that Frozen video, did some research based on my resume, saw that I did the viral marketing campaign for ABC with Flash Forward, saw that I did the viral marketing thing for Professor Layton, talked to me and realized like, oh man, none of this was done officially with the companies. He did this like on his own.
Right.
And then this recruiter literally called me up out of nowhere. This was like January, February, and said, hey, we know you want to move to the West Coast. We see you applied with us like 5 or 6 months ago. We just saw your Frozen video. Would you be interested in a contract position doing social media with us? To, of course, I said, yes, absolutely. Right. I moved out there in June. I stayed with Shofu for like 2 weeks when I was finding my apartment. I moved to Glendale, and then the rest is history.
Yep,
yeah,
the rest is history. Man, that's a one wild ride. That is a roller coaster of just ups and downs.
Yeah. And then when it comes to YouTube itself, like when I actually started doing it really like full time and I realized, oh, this could be a career, was, I was jumping around between a lot of different, portions of Disney. I did stuff for contract Lucasfilm. I did stuff for Marvel. I
remember that part of social media. I remember seeing you do that all the time.
Yeah, and it was brutal, man. I was working like really long hours. I was, writing editorial calendars for like the Star Wars accounts while also helping to run like the Ant-Man preview screenings while also like, doing random weird grunt work and like having to run into the offices that are only like 5 or 6 blocks from where I lived at the time in Glendale. But then I would have to like run to the office and then like run back home to do a video because YouTube was still just as important to me, like to grow YouTube as it was like my job, my actual job. And then it eventually got to a point where, I was doing Lucasfilm and ABC and Disney and Marvel and all this other stuff. And it was just too much because I was never full-time with any of them. I was always sort of contract. And the only time I was ever full-time was like a 6-month span where I worked for another like marketing agency sort of in between that was doing stuff with Microsoft Developer. And that was like when I was the most just like I hated my job at that point. I really was not having fun. And I realized like I should really just buckle down and start doing like YouTube videos and really trying and like really uploading them on a regular, consistent basis. And then basically like it got to the point where my YouTube revenue was better than my revenue at work. And I'm like, why am I going to work? And so I quit. And at the very beginning of 2017, so the last project I worked on at Disney was like contract stuff for Rogue One. I quit and I started just doing YouTube, and I've been full-time ever since.
So during that entire course when you're doing Disney, ABC, all of that stuff, and doing YouTube, when you started doing your YouTube after you've done all of that original Pokemon stuff, when was it always your reaction videos? Or
pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty early on, it was like just reviews and reactions for stuff. I had never done reactions to like Smash until, like I said, I feel like Etika really paved the way for everybody. And then it was like, oh, people aren't going to think we're cringy for doing this. Like, of course I'll upload this then, because you know, so many people they'll laugh at certain reaction videos and be like, oh, Roger must be faking it. But it's like, no, if you know me, and I feel like you know me at this point, like, no, those are my genuine
I feel reactions. Like it's the culture now where people love to actually watch those kind of reaction videos now.
Absolutely. And it's not to say that, like, you know, there are definitely reactions, especially the early ones where I was for sure like hamming it up for a camera. But at the same time, like the emotions I was feeling were real, right? Like I did genuinely cry when Lucas came back. Like that was the first one that got me a lot of flack, was when Lucas came back in Smash 4. And I'm like literally weeping on camera. And people are like, he's so fake. He already knew this was going to happen. And I was like, no, I just recorded it live. And I cried on camera, man. Like, so.
So I think this is the big one.
Yeah.
When did One Piece come into play for your YouTube?
So actually, I'm glad you brought this up. Like I said earlier, One Piece was not the first manga I covered. The first stuff I covered were Akinohana, Attack on Titan. A lot of people think One Piece was sort of where it started. It wasn't. I started really doing One Piece content after, I don't know how long, like, where are you in the series right now? I don't want to spoil you on anything.
I also want to talk about this later, but I'm in Water 7, and Frankie kind of just revealed himself essentially.
Cool. So I've been reading One Piece since middle school, like since it was in English Shonen Jump. I was reading it since Arlong Park, and like I said, I was fans of For Neverworld and King of Lightning, like the OG anime reviewers when I was in college too. To the point where like literally I had one semester of a Japanese class in college, and our teacher had us read One Piece chapters. So we were reading from the Fishman Island arc literally every week in class.
That's
which is
really cool actually.
Yeah. And so for me, like One Piece was always something that I was passionate about, but I never really wanted to do videos because I didn't want to compete with people like For Neverworld and King of Lightning and, you know, Sawyer and all the other, like Tekking, the OGs, you know, like the people who've been doing it for a really long time. And then I could not contain myself during a chapter during the Dressrosa story arc in which a certain character comes back. And that character's return, like, lit a fire under my butt to be like, I need to start doing One Piece content. So I started reviewing and reacting to One Piece. And this was like, these videos are gone from the internet. If anybody out there has any of these videos,
I could not find
these. Please, I will pay you to give them to me. Please, like, send them my way. I would love to see these. These were all sort of expunged from the internet because they all had manga panels in them. I would like just straight up have all of it on screen. They were all scans. None of it was official release because there was no official release at the time. So I just have like full pages of manga scans on the screen that I'm reacting to. And it wasn't until, I think it was like chapter 795, which was, you know who this character is, so this is not a spoiler. You know that there's a character named Kaido who comes in at some point.
No, I actually don't know who that. I have no. Okay, I'm fucking with you. I know who that is.
You knowing his name is not gonna.
No, I know of him.
Yeah. Cool. So Kaido shows up in the story for the first time, chapter 795. And I had done a prediction video just prior to that in which I sort of predicted what his devil fruit power would be. And when I saw the actual chapter, and the way he looked was exactly how I predicted it in my video, all of my stuff started blowing up. All of my old videos started getting reposted places. People were like, oh my God, this One Piece YouTuber is getting everything correct. His theories are on the mark. Like, check this guy out. And then it just sort of exploded from there. And I started doing a lot more One Piece content. I was also, like I said, at the time, I was still working for Disney, so I was doing like ABC videos. I was doing reviews of Once Upon a Time. Like
I remember those.
Pokemon battles. I was all over the place, man. I was like literally all over the place with my channel. And then it just got to a point where I was like, okay, this is my bread and butter. This is what's making me the most money. This is what's bringing in the views. I'm just really gonna like buckle down on the One Piece stuff. And then yeah, literally ever since whenever that was, like 795, I've been doing reviews and reactions every week. And a lot of them are gone because a lot of them, like I said, were either copywritten or were removed for, various reasons, albeit like music in the background, or I was using a clip from the anime or whatever. So a lot of those old videos are gone. But yeah, pretty much every week since 795, I did reactions and reviews.
That's how long ago was that? Like when you originally?
We're on chapter 1004 right now, so it's been a minute. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So
actually,
I've been doing YouTube full time for, let's see, 2021 to 2020.
This would be, I think,
like 6 years, roughly 5 to 6 years. Yeah. 5 full time, 4 to 5 full time, about 6 regular. Yeah.
So you blow up after this prediction you made on YouTube. What was like the difference in viewership and the numbers you were getting before and after?
Astronomical, man. I mean, I was getting maybe like 1,000 or 2,000 views.
Wow.
On like my best
I thought
videos.
I thought you would be like, I thought you were averaging maybe like 6,000 or 7,000, and then they probably quintupled at that point. But
no, it was like 1,000 or 2,000. I mean, my primary stuff back in the day, like those old videos, were Pokemon battles. The Pokemon battle, every time I would upload a Pokemon battle, it would do really well. Even if you search, like, if you go to YouTube and type in RogersBase and you sort by oldest and view count, like the oldest videos you'll find of me on YouTube are old Pokemon battles with Shofu and with Duncan, where we did free for all and X and Y.
I don't know why, for some reason, I remember like your thumbnails for those Wi-Fi battles.
Because they were cringy as hell. Are you kidding me? I had like the cringiest Pokemon battle thumbnails, man. I would take like scenes from movies and I would splice in actors' faces over Pokemon's faces. And I mean, they were like the busiest, ugliest thumbnails on the planet. But it's so funny because I absolutely have nostalgia for those old thumbnails.
Yeah. Too. I love how you, me realizing it now, I love how you cross-intersected your love for Pokemon and theater into your thumbnails in a way.
Yeah, I mean, from a very early standpoint, I was integrating like musical theater stuff, Disney stuff, everything into my channel. I mean, yeah, from a very, very early standpoint. I mean, look, the second video I uploaded that still exists on my channel from 6 years ago is a parody cover of For the First Time in Forever from Frozen.
I also have that written down here, yep.
Yeah, in which I sing about Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and the whole thing in the song is like a chance to save Nintendo's fate, a chance to save Wii U. Wii U could die tomorrow, but it has to be today. So for the first time in forever, I've got a game to play. That was like the lyrics of the song, and that song actually was the first time Nintendo's official accounts ever retweeted me. Which is funny that they retweeted that of all things.
Right?
That's literally me saying your system is dying, but at least we have Mario Kart. But they retweeted it. The girl who worked social media at the time was also a really good friend of mine. She was like, hey, we're going to put you on the Nintendo account. And I was like, yeah, thanks so much, Macy. I appreciate it. And that was history.
I assume that meant a lot to you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It still does to this day. Yeah. Like, obviously, I do brand ambassador stuff with them and like a bunch of companies nowadays. But yeah, every time I show up on like an official account, it still gives me chills, man. It's like, oh my God, if 10-year-old Roger could see me now, you know?
So jumping back on the One Piece thing, because this is something I really want to get your opinion on.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially now, after how many years have passed, when you first blew up and you start gaining this attention and all of this viewership. At what point do you see, or at what point do you step back and you're like, okay, I'm becoming a figurehead of like the One Piece community now, like I'm one of those guys. Like at what
the
point,
first time that happened? Oh man,
not so much what was the first time that happened, but when you realized it and you've come to terms that you're like the guy for One Piece, or one of the guys for One Piece.
Sure. Sure. I mean, this was a video I did 5 years ago. I think this is probably the earliest thing that I could think of. It was in February of 2016. And I did a collab theory discussion with King of Lightning. And at the time, I think I had maybe like 60,000, 70,000 subs. No, I couldn't have even, if it was 2016, maybe it was like 20,000 or 30,000. It was not like anywhere near what I am right now. But it was big enough where King like recognized me sort of as a figurehead in the community and was like, hey, I really want to do a video collab with you talking about Sanji's family.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, this will be awesome. So we did a video together. It was like an hour and a half long discussion. He was very vulgar in it. I put a content warning in the very beginning of it because my stuff is very PG-13. And we went off, man. We just really went off. And, you know, at that point, I don't know, we just started becoming really good friends, and I started becoming more integrated in the One Piece community. I eventually met everybody. You know, we started doing the Reverie streams where I started bringing in all the One Piece people, and now those are like, you know, huge events whenever we do them. But yeah, I think that was probably the first moment I was like, oh man, I think I made it in the One Piece community was when I did that video with King of Lightning.
Did you find it weird? Because I've had this experience, even though I'm on a smaller scale with YouTube, and because I haven't done it in a while, but back then, when I first started doing like video essays, because I just loved writing and I wanted to translate it into a video. When I first did video essays, I watched a bunch of people, and one of them was one of my friends now. One of them was Zoini. And I would watch his videos so much, and I loved his comedy. I loved his editing. I was like, when I make videos, this is the stuff I want it to be. So I go and make my videos, right? And I start posting them on Reddit. I start posting them on in different places. And eventually I get a notification on YouTube, and I see Zoini made a comment on my video. And I'm like, whoa,
man, that's the best feeling. That's
I was like, oh my God, dude. Like I felt so good. And so I think he followed me on Twitter, or he added me on Discord or something like that. And then we just became friends, and we'd pass each other ideas. We'd pass around ideas. We'd just play games. We'd watch anime. We'd just become really close friends. And I kind of entered his circle of friends as well. And I was like, I would never have thought that I would be in this spot when I first started. Sure. Have you ever felt that like back then when you were watching YouTube, even before making YouTube, when you were watching for Neverworld, like did you ever think, oh man, it would be so cool to be friends with him, or oh man, I never would have imagined?
I would watch their videos and I'd be like, oh, this is really cool, but I never thought like, oh, I'm gonna meet them or they're gonna be friends of mine. I literally was just watching their videos, and you know, I wanted to see what they thought of the latest One Piece chapters. That was it. I never thought like, oh, I would be one of them, and I still like didn't even really feel that while I was working for Disney stuff. Like I still, like when I was, you know, 20, whatever that was, like 2015, 2016, I still did not think it was going to be something that would become my permanent job. I didn't. I think the King of Lightning video really kind of cemented it for me that I'm like, oh, I'm going to be in this community for a while.
Yeah.
And like I made a spot in it, but no, I mean, I never thought I was going to be doing this, but I got to say, like, I am so grateful that I started YouTube when I did, because I think if I would have started YouTube as like a 16-year-old or even an 18-year-old, I really feel like starting when I started, which was, I was like, what, 22, 23? No, I was 21 because I was in college. So it was like 21. You know, I already had some experience, some life experience, right? I'd already grown up a little bit. I wasn't going to make the stupid mistakes that like 16-year-olds would make if they have YouTube accounts, right? I'm not looking back at my old videos and like cringing for anything other than like, oh, this is a funny moment, you know? And I'm very grateful that I started when I did. And I'm very, very grateful that I wasn't in college making these YouTube videos, because I think my sense of humor at the time, the kind of things that I found funny, the content that I consumed, it just, I don't know. I don't think it would be something that I would look back on and be like happy with. I think it'd be something I'd be cringing at it. Like it would be very of the time.
Right. Do you also think at the point you started at, it helped with the atmosphere YouTube was at in terms of finding creators and the algorithms back then compared to even earlier or compared to now?
I have no experience with YouTube back when it was like a 5-star rating system on videos and things. Like Shofu could speak to that, and like, you know, a bunch of other people could speak to that. But like I was already into it when it was likes and dislikes, and it wasn't like 5 stars. The one old school YouTube thing I remember dealing with my early videos still though was 301 plus, where videos would hit 301 views, and then after a certain point, it would stop counting until like the next day. And That's how you know you made it.
Yep.
Every time I uploaded a One Piece review, even if they only had like 2,000 views or something way back in the day, I saw 301 plus on that review after like maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and I was like, I made it.
If
like,
you saw
oh
if you
my
saw
God,
301
I made
plus
it, bro.
and the likes were greater than the views, that's like
It was
that's the
over.
banger
It was
video.
over at
That's
that
the
point.
banger one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, because I remember, the amount of YouTube channels I started because I didn't know what content. I always knew when YouTube came around, I was like, I wanna do YouTube. This is fun. This is fun for me.
Sure.
This is an outlet for me to show my creative side. Um, damn, I even stumbled across my old videos a while ago of like, I think I was like 14, 13 maybe, doing Pokemon Red Let's Plays.
Oh my
And it
God.
was just terrible. It was terrible. But no, I remember that way earlier on, I still feel it was very hard to break out as a YouTuber, just because of the content that was being supplied on the website. You needed
Sure.
to cater to content, right? Where nowadays
Sure.
you need to cater to consistency and
I would
video
argue consistency and also like one thing. I think that's a huge thing. People will ask me this. They'll be like, "Man, you've been around in YouTube for so long, and your videos do really well. Like every time there's a direct, you have all these views that blow up." They're like, "How are you not at a higher sub count?"
Mhm.
And the one thing I always am saying is like, I do variety stuff. I've never just done One Piece. I've never just done Pokemon or whatever, right? It's
Right.
always been a mix of content. And that absolutely hurts you. If you are a YouTuber that does a mix of content, if you're not doing at least a similar type thing at the same time every week, YouTube doesn't like that.
Yep.
And I lucked out in which I started doing streams like regularly around the time where I started, working for YouTube full time.
Mhm.
And that I think is sort of what offset whatever growth I wouldn't have had from doing like inconsistent videos, because then those live streams had so much watch time that YouTube was like, we need to push this, But I also feel that it cannot be stated enough how important like shout outs were when I first started.
Oh my God,
I
yes.
cannot overstate that. And like Shofu, every time I would do a video with him, anytime we would do like a Pokemon battle or anything, or even after we would do a Japan time, and like it was something as simple where he would like send people over to my channel, or like I would talk about something on the show and they would go watch the video. I mean, those are the kind of things that really gave me the big growth spurts, right?
Yes.
Like I could remember like we had that 10K one, and then it was a really, really, really long climb to 100. I mean, I didn't get to 100 until I think it was like early 2017, like right before I went full time, like late 2016. And I just remember that climb being brutal, and having the nights where I would be working full time, even though I was a contractor, technically supposed to be part time. I'd wake up in the morning at 5 a.m., record a video. I would do a Pokemon battle or something. I would upload, edit the whole thing prior to going into work at 8 a.m. I would go to work at 8. I would come back on my lunch break from work, work on another video, have that one uploading while I go back to work, would be at work until about 6 p.m., would come back, and then would be in like Skype calls with all of you, and we'd do Japan time, or like one of the random Skype groups wherever we would like, talk about Pokemon or games or whatever. And then I would do that. I would go eat dinner. I would go to sleep and then wake up very early the next day and just grind. And that was my routine for like 2 years. So and I look back on that and I'm like, I don't know how I managed to do that, because I cover like 5 series now and I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it sounds like from the way you're putting it, some days it was literally just work. It was literally you did Disney or
some
you did
days
whatever.
Nowadays it's just that too. It changes, right? It depends on what you're actually doing. Like there definitely are days where I wake up, start working or streaming or whatever, still today, and don't stop until maybe about like 8 or 9 p.m. But a lot of those days don't feel like work, because usually it's stuff that like I'm excited to work on,
and stuff like that, right?
I'm able to take breaks. I work from home. Reagan lives with me, so like she'll bring me food if I'm exhausted and I can't make food or something. I have a beautiful balcony, so I'll go outside and like get some fresh air. I'll go running with the dog or something. But I always make a point to just take breaks in between, and then usually it's not.
Yeah,
that
because
bad.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, how has your work ethic and even like your mental health, how has that changed from when you started to where you are now?
Oh, I mean, that's a great question. I feel there was a period of time from about a year after I went full time. This was late 2018 to like late 2019, where I was in the worst headspace I think I've ever been in, ever in terms of YouTube,
Hmm.
like ever. I would say 2016 for me was probably a worse year because I had a lot of personal things that happened. Like
Right.
my mom was going through a lot of health issues. My grandpa died. My uncle died. It was just like a lot of horrible stuff was
Right.
happening. And I was away from it all because I wasn't in Chicago. I was here in LA. And so I felt like I couldn't do anything. And I went through a bad breakup and it was just like, it was a mess, man. It was just like 2016 was a mess. And YouTube was sort of that like sanctuary for me, right? Like I'd be like, all this other stuff is going wrong, but at least like my YouTube channel is doing great, and like the One Piece reviews are doing good, and everything's really fun. And then like 2017 hit, and everything's going great, and then Viz basically like started releasing the official release of One Piece
Hmm.
in like late 2018. And I shifted over from doing scan reviews to official release reviews. And the amount of hate I got for that one decision, the amount of people who unsubscribed, the amount of people who sent like really threatening letters, the amount of people who like, I mean, people like hacked my Twitter account, were sending me death threats to my emails. I mean, it was like really bad stuff. People felt like I had slighted them because they would wait up every night for me to do my reaction to the scan the second it dropped.
Hmm.
And now they were like, oh, I have to wait a day and a half for this. I don't like this, and I don't like you anymore. And like I said, that was like late 2018 going into 2019. And so I tried to move myself away from One Piece. And I started doing like a lot of Hunter x Hunter content. I went to Japan for the first time, so I did like a Japan vlog series. I mean, I did like all these things to diversify. And thankfully at the time, right, like Smash Brothers was happening. So we had all
Hmm.
the Smash reveals. And those really were my saving grace in terms of growth. I feel like had I not played my cards correctly, with releasing the Hunter x Hunter stuff when I did, with at least putting out just a little bit of One Piece content and not having Smash Ultimate, like I don't know if my channel would still be around today
Do you
if
think you would have
not for all
stopped
that
if you
stuff.
kept getting
Yeah.
those
Oh,
interactions?
definitely. Definitely. If I was still getting like the amount of hate that I was getting, I would have stopped for sure. It was at a point where I was big enough for people to notice me, but I wasn't big enough to feel like there was any reason to keep going. You know what I mean?
In a way, yeah, I kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of get that.
Yeah. Where
Um,
I was like, I feel like this is still something I could drop at this point if I want to drop it. Um, but and I didn't want to because again, it was like the one thing that was bringing me happiness. But like, yeah, the One Piece fans really went in that year,
yeah,
and
it's like,
and
why
I
do
wasn't
it when
really
they're not
enjoying the
making you
story arc at the
happy?
time either, and I think that really played a role into it as well.
Sure.
And so it was just this like mix of just a whole bunch of bad stuff, and then like my saving grace really was end of 2019, beginning of 2020, like Smash Ultimate DLC, you know, Pokemon Sword and Shield, you know, Hunter x Hunter, those videos really blowing up, and then the webtoon stuff like Solo Leveling and Jujutsu Kaisen and all
Hmm.
that, and like those new videos that I was uploading, like new series that weren't just One Piece but were still shonen, where I was then getting re-recommended to the people that I thought I had lost permanently,
Oh, okay.
and then yeah, then it's sort of been uphill ever since, which has been nice. Knock on
Wow.
wood, you know.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I guess just to end it on the YouTube note, because I've been on YouTube for a while. You have been too.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you've mentioned it at all. You probably have, just because of it gets asked a lot. But
Sure.
I don't think I've ever heard an answer from you. Do you have
Sure.
any like advice for people who want to start YouTube or even just content creation nowadays?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Don't feel like you need to upload daily. I think that's like the number one thing. I think so many people are like, no, man, if you grind it out and upload daily, like the algorithm will reward you. And it's like, it will if you're doing the type of content that does well daily. If you're doing like drama videos or something like that, like those are going to do well daily no matter what.
Mhm.
So you're going to find growth if you do it every single day. If you're doing like reviews of a series or you're covering one specific topic, like don't try to just push out tons and tons and tons of videos. Just stick to what you're passionate about. Carve out a day of the week that's like doable for you and make like a really quality video, and then just share it across every platform you can. Don't be pushy. Don't, put it in other people's comment sections or whatever, but just like bring it up in conversation, or like find keywords on Twitter and be like, oh, these are my thoughts on this thing. Like, here's a video I did on it, that kind of thing. I feel like people are always way more receptive to that than like, oh, could you check out my video? So I would say that. And I would just say, like, don't do videos on things you're not passionate about.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that so hard.
So many people are like, oh, I'll do this one thing, like, and it'll really blow me up. And then, yeah, you're going to blow up, and then you're going to crash and burn after like a year and a half, when suddenly you're not the hot thing anymore with whatever that series is. And other people have moved on, and your thoughts on that series are not the same as other people's thoughts. And because you haven't carved out a personality for yourself, instead you've carved out like just being a creator that talks about this one thing.
Chased the numbers instead of actually making the content you wanted to make.
Right. And the second you do that, it's over. Literally, it's over. It's over before you even start, once you start doing that. And so long as you're able to say, okay, if this isn't working, even though I'm passionate about it, I move on to something else I'm passionate about, you're good to go, right? Like I did, for a brief while, I did reviews and reactions to like Bleach anime reviews, because I'd never seen Bleach either. I just was strictly One Piece. And they weren't performing super well. And so I was like, well, I'm just not going to do Bleach. I'll try Naruto. And Naruto's doing great. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this, Yeah. And it doesn't mean that I have any less passion for that series or any more. It's just like I'm enjoying myself, and the content's doing well, and my audience is receptive to it. So like, listen to your audience.
Yeah. I think the way I like to put it, at least one point, is don't worry so much on your content being unique. Worry about you being unique.
Being unique. Totally. Yeah. It's all about the personality versus the actual content itself. Because if people are watching for you, then it doesn't matter what you upload, right? You could upload a video on some completely random thing and it'll still do fine, you know? So, yeah.
Well, you touched on it a little bit. I kind of want to talk about it right now because I was a little surprised. Anime, what have you been watching recently?
Oh man. All right. There's a lot of stuff. So the content that I like, stuff that I make content on, or just stuff that I'm watching in general?
In general, I want to hear about what you've been watching and
okay.
What I can grab from it.
One Piece, obviously, naturally. One Piece, Attack on Titan, final season, naturally.
Yes, sir.
Watching through Naruto for the very first time with the anime right now. I will be covering Demon Slayer again when the anime comes back. I'm still waiting on hand and foot for Netflix to drop the movie. I still want to watch that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't mentioned that at all.
Yeah, I love it. Solo Leveling, obviously, I've been reading. I took a little bit of a break because I have the copyright strike on my YouTube channel right now because of doing Solo Leveling videos. The Korean copyright holder struck me. But I'm still gonna, obviously read it when it comes back. And then, like, off camera, Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga and the anime. The My Hero Academia manga, though I feel very compelled to drop it every other week.
Really? Okay, we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. It's the fandom. It's not the series itself. It's the fandom. ReZero Season 2, which I'm about 2 episodes behind right now, but ReZero Season 2. Kaiju number 8, the manga.
I keep seeing that when I'm on Viz, and I'm like, this looks really cool, and I want to give it a try, but I don't know if I'll ever stick to it.
It's real cool. And then another really small manga series right now called I Tell C. It's like a crime novel comedy series that's in Jump right now.
Okay.
I think it's got like 4 or 5 chapters out. You can go read it for yourself. It's free. It's just really fun. It's like a good time. And then like offhand, like randomly, I'll read a couple chapters of like Hell's Paradise. What are some other things? Like Promised Neverland, I read through the whole thing. I'm not watching the new anime season because apparently it's non-canon, so I'm like, why even bother?
Okay.
Let's see, what else? In terms of manga and anime.
I feel like you touched on a lot of stuff.
I feel like I touched on a lot of stuff, yeah.
You're definitely watching more than me and reading more than me at this point. Because I'm still kind of making my way back into it.
I read more than I watch, for sure.
Sure. But with Naruto, I was surprised that you have never watched or read Naruto, because I feel like Naruto's like the gateway to anime for a lot of people. And when I heard that you didn't know a single thing, I was actually shocked. I was like, wow, Roger doesn't know a thing about Naruto?
No. I mean, I've talked about this in the beginning of every intro for all of those Naruto videos and all the Naruto streams. Naruto is the thing that all of my friends in high school and in college were into. They were obsessed with it. My old roommate Chase literally would run around and say Sharingan to me every time he wanted to like mess with me. Like it was literally to that point where I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" Like it was that ingrained in me growing up and me going into college and everything like that. So I was always aware of it, but I never read it. I mean, I never knew really anything about it. Like I know a couple things about the series, right?
Sure.
I know some very basic things that like it's impossible to be unspoiled.
That goes with every series or IP.
Right.
There's some things.
I know Naruto and Sasuke fight at some point. I know there's a guy named Toby who is Obito. Like I know that's a thing that's gonna happen.
Damn, that sucks that you know that.
Yeah, I know Hinata ends up with Naruto. I know Sasuke ends up with Sakura and they have a kid named Salad. I know
you know a few things.
It, man. Like I really don't know.
Things.
I know a few things, but really that's it, man. Like I really don't know anything else.
So where are you?
But...
We're at this point? I think you just finished the Gaara Rock Lee.
So in the videos, I just finished Gaara Rock Lee, but we're 2 weeks ahead on Twitch. And so I am currently on the very, very ending of the Konoha Crush story arc. So I just witnessed the death of the Hokage is the very last thing I watched on stream.
Okay. So you're a decent bit in.
Oh yeah, I'm a decent chunk of the original Naruto now.
A little bit, yeah. How are you liking it?
I love it. I genuinely love it, especially more than I thought I was going to. So I did one standalone read-through stream of the first 20 chapters of Naruto in 2019, where I just finished Hunter x Hunter videos, all did really, really well. And I sort of wanted to know, like, okay, what is the next shonen I'm going to jump onto? And everybody said, you got to read Naruto. So I did one read-through stream. I read up to right before the fight on the bridge with Zabuza and Haku, and I stopped there. And everybody was like, you need to watch this in the anime because it's really good. And so I said, okay, one day I'll do an anime watch-through. Like, that's great. So I did my anime watch-through. And it was 2.5 years after my manga read-through. Wow. So I started doing it. It was January is when I started watching it of this year. And my manga read-through, like I said, was up to chapter 20 at the end of 2019. And so people were asking for me to do this Naruto watch-through for a long time, and I always put it on the back burner. But this year I figured, like, look, we're in COVID, we're in quarantine. That now's the best time to do it if I'm ever going to binge it. Attack on Titan's entering its final season. One Piece is at a point right now where, like, really, I just need to do the standalone reactions and reviews. Like, I don't really want to theorize right now because a lot of it's sort of endgame for the current story arc. So it's more fun to just like read it and be a part of it. And, and it's the early days of the year. So like a lot of the big games I'm going to want to play and do content haven't come out yet.
Sure.
So I'm like, that's the best time to do Naruto. Yeah. And so that's why I jumped into it.
Who's your favorite character so far?
Man, I do a thing at the end of my videos every week where I do a top 3 ranking. Where I say,
I like that.
Who my 3 favorite characters are as of that week. I can tell you my least favorite character right now.
Sure. My
least favorite character is Akane. Do you know who Akane is?
Oh, that slips my mind. I'd have to look that one up real quick.
I'll tell you. I don't know if you remember this. There's a flashback in the Land of Waves story arc in which Inari, the little kid, has a dog named Pochi. And there's a bully that grabs this kid's dog and he throws the dog into the water and has the dog drown.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Okay. So that kid's name is Akane, and so it's a running joke at the end of all of my character rankings that my least favorite character is Akane, and every week I add a new adjective to describe how much I hate him. And every week it builds and builds from there. But in terms of like general favorites, I love Gaara, I love Rock Lee. I really like what little I've seen of Jiraiya so far, and I've heard that he only gets better.
Yep.
So like Jiraiya is a big one. I think Naruto is a great protagonist. I genuinely think Naruto is a lot of fun.
I feel like you don't hear that a lot, and I kind of agree.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And the other thing I will say too, because man, does she get a lot of hate. I like Sakura. I don't love her. I don't think she's like amazing, but I think like I enjoy when she's on screen. I think
feel
like the Sakura Ino fight in particular, the stuff in the prelims when Sakura and Ino are fighting and she does like the mind transfer jutsu, that whole thing was awesome to me. Like I really enjoyed that. And if you go and watch those reactions, my chat hated that fight. And I'm sitting there watching it being like, I think you guys are wrong. This is actually pretty fun. Like I like this.
I feel like people don't like her as much because she's being unfairly compared to a lot of the other female characters in that show.
Sure.
But No, I don't think she's that bad at all. I'm also interested that Gaara is one of your favorite up
He's
there at the
amazing,
moment.
man. Yeah, yeah. I've liked him from the moment he shows up. Because to me, and this goes into the My Hero Academia talk, I guess, a little bit. To me, the thing that makes an anime good or a manga good, to me personally, is stakes and sticking to them. And really, like, not being afraid to kill a character, not being afraid to do something wild with the character. And with what I've seen to Naruto up to this point, and again, this may change in the future, I'm sure it does, they're not afraid to kill characters. I mean, I am, what, 2, 3 story arcs in? The Hokage has died. The entire Sound Village pretty much has died. Gaara, the first time you see him, kills 3 dudes in cold blood in the forest and makes Akamaru, like, squirm. You see, I mean, like, Zabuza dies. Zabuza literally rips a dude's jugular out, drags him down to the water, calls him like a demon from hell, kills Gato, kills half of his men with the kunai in his mouth. You know, Haku dies. There's like so many characters that have died so early on. And I'm not saying that like death equates to necessarily, but it is definitely something where if you set that up within your story that you're going to make it like a life or death situation, you better have that follow through. And certain characters should end up dying. So yeah, based on what I've watched of part 1 right now, like it's real dark, and I like it for that.
Yeah, especially the Zabuza stuff for me was.
Gaara plays a huge role in that too. I feel like, you know, Gaara's whole thing with his family and his uncle that tries to kill him, and then how he's got the tattoo on his head that means love, but his mother was like, no, I birthed you basically to be a curse on this village, not because I loved you. I was like, damn. It's really it's brutal, and it puts you in the headspace of him, and it really makes you see like what a good foil he is to Naruto in those early episodes. Because Naruto and him have sort of been through a similar situation where they're ostracized from their own village, but Gaara sort of is like the bad timeline of it, whereas Naruto has actually felt love from some of his other friends and, you know, some of his other mentor figures like Iruka and Kakashi at that point. So, yeah.
Well, you've been watching Naruto and catching up because you never watched it. I've been watching Attack on Titan. I dropped Attack on Titan season 1 when it came out, when it initially came out. I think it was
Okay, here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact. You said this earlier. Remember you were talking about voice acting?
Sure, yes.
Okay, I had an audition for a character during the first season dub of Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Which character did I audition for?
Season 1.
Season 1.
With your voice, I'm gonna go with Connie.
Yo!
Yeah, I was right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's go. I was right.
Let's go, man. Look at this. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah. I literally the reason I didn't get it is because I wouldn't move to Texas.
Damn. Yeah, Texas is like the hot spot for voice acting, apparently.
And it was early. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't even get to the callback phase. They were literally just asking me like, "Oh, where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm in Chicago." And at the I don't know why I did it remotely. It was like either I did it remotely or I sent the little MP3 via email or something. Because this was before Attack on Titan like blew up.
Right.
Yeah, and then I was like, I wasn't moving to Texas because I wanted to go to the West Coast. This was during like my late, college years. During like I think it was the break year actually between when I finished college and I was still living at home before I moved to LA. Yeah. Funny. It's funny that you got that the first time. I should have assumed that you would have gotten that at this point, though.
I mean, it only made sense to me at that point after watching it. But man, is it a good show? Man, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped it.
You're watching the anime, right?
I'm only watching the anime. I'm so tempted to just pick up the manga from where I am, but I don't think I am.
Don't do it. I think I will say this, no spoilers, and we'll talk about the anime in great detail during this discussion, I'm sure. Because I've said this, I'm not afraid to say it. I know my primary audience is One Piece. I do not care. I've said this time and time again in every video. Attack on Titan is the best currently running shonen, period. Period.
I agree.
Full stop. It is the best anime. It is the best manga.
Oh, I don't know about but like best anime ongoing, right?
Shonen. Yes, ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
in terms
ongoing,
of
yes. I don't know about the other part.
Favorite. Yeah, of all time, no. But in terms of ongoing, it's not even a question for me.
Yeah.
And I will say this is I think if you are an anime only, do not read the manga at this point. You are so close to like really good stuff in the anime where I feel like just stick with it. I will tell you this though. I will say this one thing. This is not a spoiler at all. It's literally just to like set your expectation. The season is not ending in 6 episodes.
Yeah, I heard it's going to be a 2-core.
Yeah,
it's going to get like another 16.
Yeah, it's going to have a second part. And I think I know where it's going to end, and I'm sure those of you who are manga readers in the chat right now probably know the exact panel I'm thinking of. But that is my guess. I think it's going to end on a huge cliffhanger, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who are super interested.
Even if you don't read the manga, I think you can tell where the show is right now in season 4, that it would be very awkward to wrap things up right now with how many episodes are left. Sure. So I definitely see definitely a 2-core.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just met Yelena, so it's like if you just
exactly,
met her,
yeah,
you've got 4 episodes left.
I was like, who the hell is this? Yeah. I have Yelena, 5 episodes left to learn who he. Oh nah, hell no.
Yeah. You got a ways.
No, but yeah,
but
like
I will say this: the manga recently had a little bit of a controversy. There were a lot of people who didn't like something that recently happened. But I will say personally, from my own personal experience, I liked how they did what they recently did. And I think it is one of the few series that I can safely say, now that we're so close to the ending, I've got like 2 chapters left. From beginning to end, it is seriously a masterpiece. Like, I think people look at Oda and look at all these other mangaka who tease things early on in their stories and are like, oh, I can't believe he made this callback. But the things Isayama does, calling back to like the first few episodes of the series, it's incredible because it's not like, it doesn't feel forced. It makes complete sense. And again, going back to that stakes conversation, man, the stakes are there. And I think that's a huge reason why I loved it from season 1. So I'm actually curious because we moved away from it. I want to ask you, why did you drop it season 1?
So I dropped it season 1 when it was first coming out on a weekly basis. I was watching it seasonally, and
the dub or the sub?
The subbed. I was watching the subbed.
Oh my god! Wow.
And okay. I remember the first few episodes. I was like, damn, this is cool. Good music, good action. This is great.
Yeah.
And then that early climax finishes. And there's that low point, in season 1, right?
Sure.
And I had to wait weeks. I was in my mind, I'm waiting weeks for something else to happen, like on that scale that I just saw in like 2 episodes.
Sure.
And not only that, I was watching a bunch of other stuff during the season, so I was making comparisons to Attack on Titan on all the other shows that had stuff going on. So halfway through season 1, I was like, man, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm gonna wait. I'll wait until the next season comes out or something. That way I can binge through it. I never did it. You're
talking about the low point you're referring to in season 1. You're talking about like the trial after Eren closes the hole, right? So
yeah,
the trial leading up to the female Titan stuff.
No, I dropped it while they were devising the plan to do it. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, wow.
It was very early on, and I was very stubborn.
While they were devising the plan to put the boulder in the hole?
Around there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was definitely like a few episodes before the big Annie thing.
Sure.
Wow. But yeah, I dropped it then, and then season 2 came out, and everyone was popping off about it on Twitter and stuff, and I was like, kind of don't. And at this point, I felt really bad because I dropped it because I was bored. I was bored of it. I dropped it because I was bored. But then I translated that boredom into me saying, it's not a good show. It's not a good show. I'm not watching it because Attack on Titan is not a good show. And
sure.
I regret saying that because it's complete opposite. So with season 4 coming out, everyone was talking about it on Twitter and stuff, and I was like, damn, I should go back and I should watch all of it right now so that I don't get spoiled and just completely enjoy it. So that's what I did. I watched all of it within, I think, just over a week. And I think binging it within a week has been one of the better anime viewing experiences that I've had.
Just even thinking of some of the stuff that happens like within a week's time span, like for you to experience the death of Levi's squad to the female Titan in that first season, and then get to the stuff with like Kenny and the Ackermans in season 3. I mean, to experience that on a binge is probably a wild experience. That's not something I've done yet, Because obviously I cover it regularly for the YouTube channel. I'm doing the manga reviews. I do the reactions to the episodes. So it's the kind of thing where, I watch week to week. I don't really go back and like rewatch them unless it's a moment in particular I really want to re-experience. But wow, yeah, that must have been awesome. I really want to do that. I want to go back and do like a binge watch through of it once it's all done.
It was exhilarating, to put it to the least. Like when the ending of season 3 came around, I was like, what? I was like, what's going on? Like, what the hell? Isn't this supposed to end? How are they building on top of this even more? Like, what's going on?
What is all this?
Oh,
the Reyes
man.
family? Come on now. Yeah.
They keep, again, like the way you put it, they keep raising the stakes, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
But some things I did get spoiled on, though, because I waited so long to watch it. Like, I don't even know if I want to say it, but
spoiler warning for anybody who doesn't want to know what Coast.
I'll just say the characters' names.
Okay.
I got spoiled on Reiner and Bertolt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, that's to be fair, because it's been so long.
So all of season 1, I was just like, fuck you, every time they showed up on the screen. I was like, fuck you.
That to me was the moment I realized Attack on Titan was something special, because I was reading the manga. I remember literally calling Ricky on the phone the day this chapter happened and us losing our minds over this, where we can't talk about this. It's definitely been long enough. I thought you were going to mention something that you were spoiled on in the future. We're talking about this openly. We're talking about Reiner and Bertolt. I remember getting to that moment in the manga in which Reiner and Bertolt reveal it to Eren. And it's in an offhand panel.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
And you do a double take and you're like, wait, what did they just say? What is this? And then you think back to Annie, you think back to Ymir, you think back to everything that happened, like when they were in the castle and Ymir was taking everything down and Reiner was there, like how did he heal so quickly? And you're thinking back to like even the way the Titans looked, because up to that point you've seen the female Titan, you've seen Ymir's Titan. And at that point you don't know even what Ymir's Titan is. You just know it's like Ymir as a Titan. And so you see the two of them, and they kind of look like each other. And then you start thinking back, like, well, who could the Armored and the Colossal be, and all this stuff? And you're like, it can't be Bertolt and Reiner because they were in the castle with Ymir. Why would they? And then, so when you get to that point, where they're on the top of the wall,
when they, because what's funny is, I was spoiled on the concept, but not the delivery.
So
when I saw that, I was like, what the hell? What did he really do that right now? Oh my god.
Yeah,
but no, I'm so glad I got back into it, because
it's the best.
It's been a pleasure. Speaking of pleasures,
wait, I was gonna say real quick.
Go ahead.
One thing I was gonna say too. You mentioned the low point of the series. I think for a lot of people, the low point, and I'm curious what your thoughts on this are now that you're binging it. The low point was the political arc following season 2 in the first half of season 3 in the manga. So that arc was significantly sped up in terms of the anime. There was a lot of stuff with the political arc with, the Ackermans and Kenny and all that stuff that really did drag on for like a long time, to the point where a lot of people did drop the series for a while.
Wow.
And I remember getting to like the Rod Reyes reveal and thinking like, man, I feel so bad for the people who dropped this for like the 20 something chapters where it was kind of slow. And then a lot of people actually dropped it as well at the very beginning of where the anime is right now. So the beginning of season 4.
Really?
Because, so those chapters...
Actually, I kind of get that.
In the lead-in, people were like, who are these new characters?
Exactly.
Why are we here right now? I don't care about this. Why is there a new cast? This doesn't make any sense. And then I think the anime did a way better job of setting them up relatively quickly, where you still sort of have the stakes with that character. But then when you get to the big moment that happens, the first big action moment of the season, where the Titans all show up and everything, that's when you realize, like, oh, this is what they're doing with that.
If setting them up quickly is 4 episodes for you, I don't know what the word quickly means to you. I personally...
To be fair, it was month to month, and it was over the course of, I think it was like 7 or 8 chapters.
That's fair.
And so there were a lot of people who were like, all right, come on, let's move it on at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because I did, when I started season 4, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, you're like,
am I watching a new show?
Porco, who are these people? Who's Peak? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
The tone definitely took a different change as well. Not a different change, but a little shift.
Yeah.
But no, I was saying
what you did there was shift. That was very good. That's nice.
No, I was saying I was talking about pleasure anime, and I don't think I've ever gotten this info out of you, aside from like the obvious stuff like One Piece.
Sure.
and like Attack on Titan. What would you consider your favorite anime? Other
Outside
than
of
those.
the obvious stuff, sure. I mean, like I could say the whole Toonami block when I was growing up, right? Like Cowboy Bebop,
For
Trigun,
sure. I was gonna
Samurai
ask you about
Champloo,
that too. Like, what
Big
did you grow
O,
up watching and
Hamtaro.
stuff?
See, the funny thing for me, I say the Toonami block, but it wasn't. I think most of my friends were watching the Toonami block, which was like Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, that thing. That was not me growing up. To me, anime growing up for me was Love Hina, was Big O,
Wow.
was Cowboy Bebop, was Trigun, Ghost in the Shell.
You got a good selection. Damn.
Oh yeah, I had a good selection when I was growing up for sure, because that was all the stuff that was airing on Adult Swim. And my buddy John V, the one that had the PlayStation that I brought up earlier, him and his sister were huge anime manga fans, and so they like had every volume of Shaman King, of D Gray Man, of Bleach, of like all of this stuff. They were hardcore into it, and they would rent things like Love Hina, things like Ranma that I would have otherwise like no other real way of watching at that time, you know. And so I just like got hardcore into that stuff. A big one for me too growing up was Sergeant Frog. I was obsessed with Sergeant Frog growing up. I love Sergeant. I still have all the volumes literally in my apartment. I love them all. But I guess, yeah, in terms of anime, for me, it was very much like Cowboy Bebop, Big O, Trigun, Champloo, Ghost in the Shell. Because to me, this is funny, you brought up Pokemon Ruby earlier. That's that era of my life for me. That's the era where I remember the games I was playing were Wind Waker, Melee, and Ruby. And the shows I was watching in the evening were Adult Swim, where it would start off with Family Guy, like the early seasons of Family Guy, and then would go into Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, and Big O. And for that like 4 hour, even Paranoia Agent at that, I was watching Paranoia Agent in high school when it was like airing on Adult Swim. So I was watching like weird stuff while everybody else was watching Naruto and Shaman King and Bleach.
That is a selection, because here when I was growing up and in Canada, it was way different, because we technically got that Toonami block, but it was way more different from what I'm hearing from you. Because what happened with me, with anime that I would watch after school, it would be like stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Beyblade, Shaman King, stuff like that, right? But I remember I was lucky enough to grow up with a TV in my room when I was younger. So when I would go to bed, I would put on The Zone. That's a channel in Canada, The Zone, channel 25. And it would
I've talked about this before.
It would play. Yeah, I think we have talked about this. It would play it would play the most obscure anime that I have never known, and I would come to absolutely... It was so strange. It would be, if I remember it in order, it was Inuyasha, and then it would go to Sailor Moon, and then it would play Dragon Ball Z. And then after that, it would play like some other random stuff I can't remember off the top of my head.
But Wonderland or something?
Maybe. But I remember every night, I think it was Eureka 7. But I remember every night...
Eureka 7 is the one I loved growing up. Yeah.
Every night, I would go to sleep watching Inuyasha, Sailor Moon, and Dragon Ball Z. And those were like my three like guilty pleasures. Well, I would probably openly talk about Dragon Ball Z more, but...
I will still go back and watch Inuyasha episodes every once in a while on Netflix. I legitimately love Inuyasha. And I think so much of it is exactly what you said. I had a TV in my bedroom growing up, and so I would fall asleep to bum 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 da 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 da. You know, or like to me, sometimes what would happen. I don't know if you've seen this meme, but there was like a meme going around recently of a guy who like wakes up at 2 a.m. and hears the theme song of, I think it was like Rurouni Kenshin or something.
No, I haven't
Only
seen
for
that.
me, what it was at 2 a.m. I would wake up to. From Ghost in the Shell, there's a song. I don't know the name of the song. I don't know the lyrics of the song, but there's a song in Ghost in the Shell that's like Heliotoys.
I know what you're talking about.
And I would wake up at like 2 a.m. to that with my TV still on, and that would be my cue to turn my TV off because it was too late.
Yeah, for me it was the Inuyasha ending that I would usually wake up to,
which is also fantastic. I mean.
No, I remember
absolutely goated song.
I remember I would go over to Dan's house. I slept over at his house so much. We'd always hang out all the time, and every night, not every night, but a lot of the times we would watch that stuff that was airing, and I remember just listening to all of the endings all the times. Like it was just burned into my brain. And then from there I went on to make AMVs on his MacBook that I would put on YouTube. I wish I still had those.
It's funny you bring that up because Reagan has talked to me on numerous occasions about like how she was super hardcore into like making AMVs in high school, and that was never my thing. Like
No.
I watched them all the time, but I never thought I would ever make them or do like videos
I
or
feel
anything
like
like
it's a
that. I thought,
different
man, that takes a
calling.
lot of effort. Yeah, and now here I am making videos. It's weird.
Yeah, I feel like the not the way you were brought up, but the things you came to like were a little bit uh
Older.
not older but stagnant. Or not even stagnant, just
Yeah.
different from
Yeah, you're not gonna see big O
AMVs.
AMVs. Yeah.
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 Because a lot of the times it was like Naruto AMVs. It
Yeah.
was the main
See,
thing when I was growing up.
mine were downloading MP3s onto my little SanDisk of the ending song of Big O, where it's like, sometimes I feel I'm all alone. Like, that's the music I was listening to. Like, da 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 to call my name. And like, I would walk around being like, cast in the name of God, ye not guilty, while all my friends are running around, you know, doing Sharingans and stuff. So it was definitely a different audience.
Yeah, I listened to too much Papa Roach and Linkin Park when I was making that stuff. Damn.
See, I pretty much was exclusively growing up. It was musicals, it was Disney songs.
That's the thing.
and
That's
it
what I'm
was-
talking about.
That's it.
Yeah. Yes. I guess to backtrack a little bit with the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
I know you're playing or you just finished 3D World, but other than that, what have you been playing at the moment?
I've been playing a lot actually at the moment. So I just finished 3D World and Bowser's Fury. I've talked about this before. I don't like the semi 3D Mario games. I never have. But after giving 3D World a chance, I definitely like it more than I thought I did. Like significantly. The music has always been good. I've always liked the music and the aesthetic of it, but it's just like I don't know if it's my depth perception is really bad or something, but I can't get into the semi 3D games in the same way. That being said, Bowser's Fury is like a masterpiece.
I still have yet to try it.
I want them to go in that direction for like the next mainline Mario game. I think the way that they handle like an open world, fully 3D Mario environment is awesome. And I found myself like going back to it, even though I've already beaten it, just trying to collect more little cat shines. It's a ton of fun. And then beyond, you know, like Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, I've been playing a random bunch of stuff. I just beat Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 last night.
Okay, that is random at this point.
Yeah, I beat the entire adventure mode of that on Switch. I downloaded the demo for Triangle Strategy, and I'm obsessed and frothing at the mouth, and I need that game to come out.
Was it good?
Like tomorrow. That game, it's so good.
Yeah.
If you like Fire Emblem and Octopath, I think you're gonna like it. The only thing I think they need to adjust is there's like a character selection mechanic that is a little too slow. It's like there's one extra button step that I think you don't really need, and I think they could streamline it a little bit. But in terms of like the look of the graphics and the gameplay and stuff, it's exactly what I would have wanted.
You could give him that feedback survey or whatever it was you were.
I'm planning on it. I definitely will.
Yeah, tactics games are just I don't know. I can't get into them. Like,
oh wow, really?
I was a really big fan of Awakening, Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh, sure. Fire Emblem Awakening, yeah.
But other than that, there aren't many tactics type of games that I could say I like.
Yeah, I mean those are like some of my bread and butter. I mean, I think of like if you're asking me like my favorite video game series of all time, I think of like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, Advance Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, like those are all up there.
Did you like Wargroove?
I have not played Wargroove, but I played a strategy game relatively similar called Into the Breach.
Oh, I know that game.
Yeah, it's an indie game where it's basically like Fire Emblem, but after a few matches, like time resets, and you can only take one soldier with you.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and I highly recommend it. But I've heard nothing but good things about Wargroove, and I'm sure I'll like it when I eventually play it.
Mm-hmm. What else have you been playing?
I just literally right before this call started up Ocarina of Time again for the first time in like 5 years. I got through the Deku Temple, the very first temple. I'm in Hyrule Field already, and I'm about to go to Death Mountain. That's where I am right now.
I'm assuming you didn't grow up with Ocarina of Time. Did you grow up with the 64?
I did. Oh,
you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, yeah. So like I said, first game I ever got was Banjo-Kazooie and an N64. That was my first system, my first main system. But funnily enough, my first Zelda was not Ocarina of Time. It was Majora's Mask. And in fact, I didn't even know what Zelda was until Smash Brothers. So I went to my friend's house because I wasn't allowed to have Smash Brothers. I went to John V's house. He had Smash Brothers, and I was obsessed with it. I was like, this is my favorite thing. I don't know any of these characters other than Pikachu and Jigglypuff and Mario, but I love them. And like Yoshi and Donkey Kong, I knew them, you know. But like, I didn't know Fox. I didn't know Samus. I didn't know Link. I certainly didn't know Captain Falcon and Ness. I was like, is Ness the Pokemon trainer? Like, who is this? I thought he was a Pokemon trainer with Mewtwo's powers for like a long time.
Hey man, when you're a young misguided kid and you see that, I mean, that's a given for you.
So for me, I remember seeing Link and being like, I want to play his game. And they were like, oh yeah, we have Ocarina of Time. So I watched them play it a little bit, but I never had it. But we used to get these VHS tapes in the mail from Nintendo Power that would like preview the games coming out later in the year.
I miss those, man.
Yeah. And I got one for Majora's Mask. And I remember showing that to my parents, and I was like, I want this game so badly. Please get me this game. And so I remember they put it in my Halloween pumpkin that year. It was like, they hid it in my jack-o'-lantern like before I went out trick-or-treating. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I just stayed up the entire night and played Majora's Mask.
You got gifts on Halloween?
Not normally, but I did that Halloween for sure. I would usually get candy.
Maybe it came out that time. Maybe that's why.
It did. It came out like right around that time. And I was obsessed with it. And then afterwards, in like 2000, I played. I guess it would have been 2001. It was right before the GameCube came out. Is the first time I ever played Ocarina of Time. And then I think I beat it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I was just obsessed with it. Yeah.
So you said Ocarina of Time was later on that you played afterwards.
Yeah.
How do you feel the difference of the two are? Like, which one do you like more?
I think I appreciate Majora's Mask more for it doing something really different. And I love the music in Majora's Mask. I love the boss battles in Majora's Mask. The one in particular that I'm thinking of, like the goat battle, where you're rolling as a Goron and it's like a high-speed chase in the middle of this hallway. That's probably like one of my favorite Zelda boss battles of all time. And so I have a soft spot for Majora for it being my first game. But if I have to say like which one is better, I mean, even just playing like this little bit of Ocarina again, I'm like, oh yeah, this game still holds up really, really nicely. Yeah. So I'd go with Ocarina.
I don't know what it is, man. Like with Ocarina of Time, I can't. With Majora's Mask, I feel like I could sit down and play it fully. But with Ocarina of Time, I feel like I get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, I need to stop playing. I'm not enjoying it anymore.
See, I think Ocarina, the reason why it still holds up for me is because I have that nostalgia of like beating it so many times as a kid and watching my friends beat it. Because to me, it's almost like eating mashed potatoes. It is like a comfort thing. Like I'll turn it on and I know all the puzzles. I don't have to think about it. I'm not like wondering where I'm supposed to go next. It's literally just me re-experiencing this world. And it's on autopilot, right? And it's just like experiencing the story again, seeing these familiar locations. It's all that kind of stuff. Whereas Majora's Mask, I don't think I could go back and have that same experience, even though like I have a lot of nostalgia for it and I remember the game pretty vividly. Right. Like I don't think I remember all of the exact puzzles in Majora's Mask, but like without a doubt, you could throw me in any room in Ocarina of Time and I can get through that room in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess at that point, it kind of makes sense for you, and a little bit on me on that end too. I guess I would feel a little bit the same way.
I want to ask you actually, curiously.
Sure.
What are your top 3 favorite Zelda games of all time? Because I think this says a lot about a person's taste in terms of like what kind of games they like, depending on their answer. I'm very curious.
This one I'd have to think about a little bit because I'd have to like rewind my brain to a certain point in time. But I definitely my first 2. My top one is Wind Waker without a doubt. That I've spent countless hours playing.
Good man.
Second one is second one's Breath of the Wild. Which
wow, we might be 3 for 3.
It's funny because when Breath of the Wild came out, it's when I first got my Switch, and I got Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and I blasted through Mario Odyssey. I'm like, all right, time to play Breath of the Wild. Let's have fun with this. I played it for 30 minutes and I'm like, man, this game is trash. Why did I buy this game? I wasted all my money on this. I let it sit on my shelf for 2 years. And then I think in early 2019, or maybe even last year, I was like, I really need to give this game a try again. I didn't give it enough. I didn't give it any justice. So I played it again and I got past to where I was playing and then I didn't put it down for a long time. And I was like, man, I guess that's just a problem with me. I start playing things and I don't give it the time I need to, and I'm just like, this stuff is exactly. I'm like, man, this stuff is trash. But I played through it and it was such a good experience. It was so, I don't know, it was fantastic. So I would definitely put Breath of the Wild for the second, but the third, I haven't played too many Zelda games. Like I've played a handful. Like I've played Twilight Princess, I've played Skyward Sword, I've played Link to the Past, but never really beaten them. I haven't
Oh
beaten them.
wow, okay.
So I think uh it's a tie between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but I'd probably give the slight edge to Majora's Mask, just because of nostalgia reasons. Um, but other than like those three, Zelda's a franchise I don't really touch. Like a lot of the handheld games, I'm not too keen on. Like, what was the last 3DS release? That was Link Between Worlds.
Link
That
Between
one I
Worlds.
played for like almost near the end, and I was just I realized I'm just playing the same game. Nothing has really changed throughout this game.
Sure.
I gave Minish Cap a try, and I don't know, it didn't capture me.
Did you try the Link's Awakening remake on Switch?
No, that I haven't gotten to yet. And the funny thing is,
I will mail it to you so you could play it.
I'm
serious.
There's a I made like an entire list of video games that I want to burn through this year that I've never touched from like years and years ago, and that's one of the ones that I have on my list. But yeah, other than that, like Phantom Hourglass, I barely touched. Spirit Tracks, I never played. Oracle's games, and I never played the OG, like original Zelda and Zelda 2. I never played those. So
So when I was a senior in college was when Skyward Sword came out, and that I was one of the first people in the United States.
I saw that. I saw you tweet that.
Yeah, they basically rose these things from the floor after the presentation, and we were in like the third row, and I ran up at E3 in the actual press conference hall and was like literally one of the first to have my hands on that game. So I have a really strong nostalgia for Skyward Sword. And I remember at the time was the big like Zelda 25th anniversary push. That was the whole big thing. They had the Zelda Symphony and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time in college, pretty much everything was available. All the Zelda games to that point were available if you owned a 3DS, a DS, an N64, and a Wii. You could pretty much play all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And so I beat every single Zelda game that has ever been released during my senior year of college. Literally the only other game I could think of that I played during that time is I played like Smash Brothers and GoldenEye on the Wii with my roommates. I played Final Fantasy 13 because I'm a weird hardcore defender of that game. And I played Pokemon, obviously. But pretty much everything else that whole year of my life was just Zelda.
Wow.
And so having played all of them, I actually think it's amazing that you came to the conclusion that Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild are two of the best, because I am in complete agreement. They are also two of my favorites. I would actually say Breath of the Wild's my number one.
Yeah, I think I would mix and match the two. It depends on the day.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild is also like a weird situation, kind of like Skyward, because I was very, very lucky enough to get sent a Switch 2 weeks before release.
Oh, wow.
Where I was on a Nintendo Direct thing. It wasn't Direct. What was it? The Minute? Nintendo Minute?
Yep, Nintendo Minute.
So in January they had the really big Nintendo Switch presentation, and then they invited a bunch of like people, like video game people, media people, influencers, whatever, to go to these launch events in New York and LA to preview the Switch early. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get an invite. And I was like, what the heck? Did I do something wrong? Like, I've always been in Nintendo's good graces. I used to work for them. Like, what's going on? I didn't get an invite. And so I was like devastated. And at the time, I was scheduled to do a Nintendo Minute about Yoshi's Crafted World on the 3DS.
Okay.
And they were like, Kit and Krista were saying like, hey, Roger, come on over. We're going to go record this at YouTube Space, and you're going to play Yoshi's Crafted World. And I show up at this thing. They have me vlog the whole thing. I have the video. I'll like link it to you. So if you want to splice it in, you can. They have me vlog the whole thing. I walk in this room and I see a giant Mario question mark block on this like thing next to the TV. And I pretty much instantly realized like, oh, I'm here to play Switch. Like they lied to me. This is not a Yoshi thing. Yeah, so then Krista's like, hey, Roger, so, unfortunately, like, Yoshi didn't get here. The dev units didn't get in. So, like, we're not going to be playing Yoshi today. We're doing something else. And at first, I'm kind of disappointed. And you can see it in the video as soon as I realized, like, oh, my God, I'm about to play Switch. And so I had this, like, private one-on-one thing to play
That's pretty cool.
Breath of the Wild for the first time. And then at the end of the whole thing, on camera, they're like, oh, and by the way, there's going to be one in the mail for you, like, before launch. And I'm losing my mind at this point.
Wow.
I can't believe this is the case. I was like so grateful. And the thing shows up. This is I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I was single. I had just come off a pretty long-term relationship. I had a new apartment. I was literally living by myself in this like studio apartment, and my Switch arrived. And for 2 weeks leading up to the Switch, nonstop every day, I played Breath of the Wild. And I was so fortunate to have an experience with that game where nobody knew anything about it at all. Nobody was talking about it. There were no weird physics things. Nobody was leaking puzzles. No one was leaking the story. Nothing. There was nothing. So I experienced like so many of the weird physics stuff that people then came to discover over the course of that time, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it.
Jesus.
And so I have like a really strange history with that game, and I feel like if I didn't have that history with it, I would say it would probably be my number 2. But because I have that history with it, because
that makes sense.
It was such like a fun, private experience to me. It's got to be my number 1.
I mean, it's like the same with me.
The only thing that'll knock it down is 2.
It's kind of like the same with me. You know, I got a GameCube and Wind Waker on the day of my birthday. My mom actually woke me up before school. She said, "Hey, you're not going to school." And I'm like, "What?" And then she gave me a GameCube and Wind Waker, and I just stayed home all day from school and just played Wind Waker. It was like, I think just that experience alone puts it at the top for me.
Yeah.
I also remembered
it's like so different from any other.
Zelda game. At that point, like,
what'd you say?
I know at that point with the Zelda games.
Well, because people were expecting that Space World demo with like Ganondorf and Link. Yeah. They thought that was going to be the new Zelda, and so they had this Toon Zelda game, and everyone like hated it at first. Yeah. And it's so funny because now people look back on it, and it's like hands down one of the most beloved of all time.
No, a Zelda game I just remembered that I would probably put at my 4th spot is Four Sword Adventures on the GameCube.
Nice, good choice.
Because I remember playing that a lot too. No, I was never really a Zelda kid growing up. I was definitely more Mario. And
that's funny. Yeah, for me, I never really even liked Mario that much growing up. Like I liked I've always liked the spin-off games more than the mainline games. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed Mario Sunshine when I was growing up, which is funny because it's like the one that everyone doesn't like as much. I loved Mario Sunshine. I was always like Team Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie over Mario 64. I still am to this day. And like I replayed Mario 64 relatively recently in the 3D All-Stars collection. Mm-hmm. And I started with Sunshine because I had nostalgia for it and I loved it. And I literally could not make my way through 64. It was like the camera was so bad and so many things did not age well in that game, to me at least personally, that I was like, man, I can't keep going with this. And so then I thought, well, maybe it was just of the time, right? So I have all my old systems with me at this apartment. I put in Banjo-Kazooie. And I played through the first hour of Banjo-Kazooie, and I was like, oh yeah, unequivocally, this is the better game. Like, no doubt about it. This is the better game. and I know there's like, that's blasphemous to say. I know that's a hot take, but I really genuinely love Banjo. I think the humor is actually aged pretty well.
Oh yeah, that's a timeless game.
It's like a goofy, it's a timeless little game. I love it.
What? So Banjo's the first game you've ever played, right?
Yeah.
For me, it was The Tick on Super Nintendo.
Wow. Oh, so you actually started with the Super Nintendo.
So
then.
I was very young, and this is like Super Nintendo phasing out into 64. And so my family didn't have the 64 at the time. So I remember my earliest memory is walking down to my basement and seeing my older brother and my cousins there, and they would be playing either Super Mario World or The Tick on Super Nintendo.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were just like a Mario type of family. So
now that I'm thinking about it though, Banjo was not my first game system. Banjo and N64 wasn't my first. Now that I'm thinking about it, you said Super Nintendo, and I'm like, oh yeah, there was something else that I had prior to that.
Aha.
I don't know if you are familiar with this at all. It is a very weird video game system. Do you know what the Sega Pico is?
Yep, I know what the Sega Pico is. Okay. That is a weird console, but yeah.
Yeah. So I had a Sega Pico growing up with this game. I had Richard Scarry and Lowly's Busiest Day Ever.
What the hell?
I had Lion King on the Sega Pico, and I had Tails Music Maker on Sega Pico. And if you got farther enough in Tails Music Maker, it gave you one level from an actual Sonic game to play through.
What the hell?
So technically, that was my first video game. It was Sega Pico with those 3 games.
Wow. That is, I love asking people that question because it's either something like, oh yeah, Mario 64, or like, you know, like some mainstream game, or it's something like
Sure, of
this.
course.
And I
Right,
love to
right.
hear these types of answers because it's just so obscure and random.
That must have been like 1994 or 95. I mean, I was like 4 or 5 at the time. I was really, really young.
Pico is 93, if I believe.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Damn.
I still have it. It's literally at my parents' house. I'm sure when they move to California, they'll bring it with one of the boxes. And
Damn, I wish I honestly, I wish I still had all my old gaming stuff. I always
to get a the new system
for
so
Halo. Halo 3 was like that shift for me. It was Pokemon all the time, and then just that 360 came out. And it was just all Halo, all the time. So do you want to talk about the Direct a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us are very happy considering how it started.
Hey, I don't want to talk about it too much because I want to leave some stuff for Japan time, obviously.
For Japan time, sure,
but,
sure.
Man, when that trailer started, man, I was like, my mind was racing. I was like, what's the outcome here? How many are we getting? Yeah. Roll of the dice. Yeah. But I'm happy. And I'm obviously sure you're happy.
Oh yeah, oh my god. I literally have a Aegis in my bedroom hanging over my bed. So yeah, I like this. And the thing was too is like Reagan has talked to me about this. Like she's not a huge gamer. But she's becoming a huge gamer. Now she's like playing tons of stuff because she works for Humble Games. She does like a lot of social media stuff for them. And the Switch is really the first time she's like fully owned a game console that wasn't a DS. And so because I get like multiple copies of a lot of stuff, she'll get the other games too. So she's now played through like the Xenoblades, Fire Emblems. I mean, she's like a hardcore gamer now. She's like super hardcore into a lot of this stuff. And she loves Pyra and Mithra. And I remember this is the first year of us dating, and I was still living at the old apartment, and I was talking to her about like characters I wanted in Smash Brothers. And I had told her prior to the Direct in which we get the reveal of the Rex Mii costume that I wanted Rex and Pyra, like so badly. And we got that deconfirmation, and I'm like clutching on my sword and I'm crying. I was like so sad. And I thought it was over. I really thought like it was completely over. We were never going to have a shot. And we were even talking about it the night before, and Reagan was saying to me, she's like, I bet you it's going to be something stupid like the Ring Fit Trainer or like Dante. I mean,
people were thinking about that.
Stupid, but like a lot of people like Dante. I don't particularly want him, but like Dante wouldn't be a stupid pick, But it's something that like she was resigned to the fact it was a character I wasn't going to care about and a character she wasn't going to care about. It was like going to be wedged in a Nintendo Direct, and that was going to be it. And from the second, knowing that there was going to be a Smash reveal in this, when I saw on the bottom of the screen, not actual gameplay footage, and I see the clouds rising up, there was a brief, and you could see it in my reaction video. There's a moment where I'm like, this can't actually be happening. But the second you actually go through the clouds, before it even goes to Rex, and you see, the floating,
when you see the clouds, when I saw the clouds, I was like, oh damn!
At first, it's Xenoblade.
My brain at first was like, okay, Xenoblade 3, right? And then
you thought Xenoblade 3?
I thought Xenoblade 3 at first, and then because I don't know why I ever assumed this. Every time they mention Smash is going to be shown during a Direct, it's always the first thing. They always lead with it.
I always assume it's going to be a fake out whenever I see not actual gameplay footage on the bottom now. Yeah, I learned my lesson after Persona. I'm like, even if they don't put the cross on there, I know it's going to be something Smash related. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I saw, what's the Argentum? The floating, the city? Yep. As soon as I saw Argentum, I'm like, it's over. It's over. I didn't even see Rex. I got out of my chair. I started running around the room. I couldn't believe that was the case. And the way they, that
trailer
so perfectly, bro, with the trailer, where everyone up to this point, it was like a given that if Pyra's going to be in the game, it's going to be Rex and Pyra. Yeah. Everybody has resigned themselves to this fact, and it's like, the final Smash is going to be Mithra or something. Like, that's what it's going to be. But let's be real. None of us care about Rex at all. No one cares about Rex.
Nah.
Rex is fine, but like, none of us really care about Rex in the same way we care about Pyra. Yep. And so for him, like searching around looking for her, he sees the empty shell and she's not there. And then when he walks down to Final Destination, you see the steam rise up and she turns around. She's like, sorry, I couldn't tell you. I'm the one in Smash Bros.
The line right after the title card, and it's like Pyra joins Smash. The line right after it was just, wait, that's supposed to be me? Oh man, I loved it. I loved it.
And then of course, having her where she's like a stand character where you can actually switch between the two stances, like it's amazing. Like we actually have Zelda and Sheik in the game now. Only it's not Zelda and Sheik naturally, but it's two separate characters. Like I'm sure we're going to talk about it on Japan time, but like the Smash Bros website classifies Pyra and Mythra as two different characters, right? So, and that still means we're still getting 2 more characters. It's not like they're taking 2 slots. We still have the 2 mystery slots that are on the website. We're
more
still
bang for our buck. They're hooking us up a little bit.
Sakurai said we're going to give you 1 bonus. He lied. He's giving us 2 bonuses.
No, what I'm excited about the most is the music that they get.
Oh my!
I'm hoping we get way more tracks.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yeah,
please, Lord name, please.
I am hoping we get like what was that one reveal where we got like 20 tracks?
Oh, I'm telling you, because this is a Nintendo-owned property, they're gonna do like what they did with ARMS, where they're like, all this music fits, so we're gonna put all this stuff in there. Like, I'm expecting we're gonna probably hear Giga Rosa from Xenoblade 2. We're probably gonna hear like weird remixes of like the slow songs.
I hope they add Torna music as well, because Torna music is amazing.
Torna music's going to be in there. The battle theme from Definitive Editions, extra thing with Melia is totally going to be in there. All that stuff's going to be in there, man.
I hope.
Xenoblade X music? Dude, the Xenoblade X music made by the people who made Attack on Titan soundtrack?
Yeah, dude, Hiroki Sawano?
Oh my God.
I'm praising you right now. My hands are literally praising you. Amazing.
Give me the Torna battle music. Give me the remix of the Amalthus theme. Give me Giga Rosa. Give me More Ordain. You didn't even need to remix More Ordain. More Ordain is so fire that they could just put that song in there by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, Pirate. I mean, it's a given. It's a given. What else did they show at the direct?
There was a lot of stuff. They showed Skyward Sword HD, which I was really happy about. That was cool.
Yeah.
For me, the honestly, Splatoon was obviously a huge announcement, but for me personally, like that Project Triangle strategy game, like when I first saw it, I was certain it was like Bravely Default 2 or something. So I'm like, oh, okay, we already know about this, whatever. But then when they said the next in the 2D HD line, like, have you ever played Octopath Traveler?
No. Those games by those developers I've never touched at all.
So Octopath Traveler is something that when I started playing it, I didn't think I was going to like as much as I like. And now, like, I could say definitively without question, not only is it one of my top 10 favorite games on the Switch, it is hands down one of my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time.
Oh, okay.
Like, I love Octopath. And like we were talking about earlier, I love tactics games. So, like, I grew up playing stuff like Final Fantasy Tactics, Advance Wars, Fire Emblem. I'd say Fire Emblem I got more into when I was in high school, but like Advance Wars I played before I even played Fire Emblem. So I love tactics stuff. And so as they were going through the trailer and showing more of that Project Triangle game and like seeing those beautiful visuals and also hearing the music and knowing it's going to be sort of like a mix of tactics and Fire Emblem, I was all in. So that to me was like the mind-blowing announcement. I know some people were hype about Golf or Splatoon, or I mean, I'm hyped for Splatoon too, but
Splatoon 3.
Triangle's awesome. Yeah, I meant Splatoon like 2.
I know, I'm messing with you.
Of course, yeah, of course.
No,
yeah, Splatoon 3 looks incredible too, actually.
So the thing with Splatoon for me is, with Splatoon 3, it looks promising, right?
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Splatoon 1. On the Wii U, I played that to death. That was like my game. That was my Wii U game, honestly. Besides Smash,
to be fair,
that was my game.
To be fair, what other games are on Wii U? Like, that's fine.
True,
yeah.
true. But that was my game. But
yeah.
When I got my Switch, it wasn't right at the beginning of the lifeline. I got it a little bit after, and Splatoon 2 had been out already a little bit. So when I got Splatoon 2, I wasn't on the same level in terms of PvP. I wasn't on the same level as all the other players, and so my experience with online deteriorated by a big chunk.
That's too bad.
So my experience was it was a bad taste. I didn't enjoy Splatoon 2 that much. It left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm hoping with Splatoon 3 I can enjoy it as much as I did with Splatoon 1, which I probably will be because I'm definitely gonna buy it when it comes out.
Yeah, day one, sure.
But yeah, the stuff they showed is crazy. The weapons, the hairstyles. Oh man.
Yeah, the hairstyles are not just the hairstyles, but like the look of the hub world environment this time around.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it looks like a bustling Osaka side street. It looks amazing.
What else was there? Mario Golf. That I'm excited for. That looks very good. Cool.
Yeah. So long as
mode?
it has RPG mechanics in the story mode. It looks like there's a little bit of it, but like that's the thing I loved about the GBA ones.
Yeah.
I've never been huge into like the Mario sports games. But I always loved the Camelot development. Oh, you do too. I mean, I know you're a Camelot fan.
I'm a huge
so
Camelot
I feel
fan.
like yeah.
Huge Camelot. Where are you, man?
Yeah, right. Golden Sun? I mean, they're working on this. Clearly,
I'm looking. I'm looking. I don't see them.
Yeah.
I've heard there's rumors that they were making some sort of other Mario sports game, but it's just rumors at this point. I'm pretty sure it's nothing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I wasn't. I feel like I'm resonating a little bit with all the other people on social media that were complaining about the direct, as always. Where if you're a JRPG fan, this was the direct for you, but if you're anything else, it kind of was a little lackluster, which I agree to an extent.
Sure, for sure.
Because there was that Danganronpa type game. There were a lot of re-releases for old RPGs.
The Famicom Detective Club getting localized is like a huge one.
Yeah.
I never thought we were going to get that, and we're getting both of those visual novels. I mean, I remember seeing Ayumi, the main character from those games. The first time I ever even heard of those games was because she was a trophy in Melee.
Yep.
You remember that? And it was like a weird import trophy. And so that was my only experience with those titles. And, you know, I love visual novels. So it's the kind of thing that, like, I know I'm going to pick both of those up and probably stream them.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna touch. I'm not a visual novel guy. I'm probably never gonna touch those ever in my life.
Dang, too bad.
Well, other than that, I can't like. I guess Monster Hunter. Yeah,
Monster Hunter's looking amazing.
Well, I've never played a single Monster Hunter game, so I might try with Rise. I might give it a shot.
Yeah, now is definitely the right time to start because I feel like they're adding a lot of the quality of life stuff that was there in World that made it.
That's what I've been hearing. Yeah,
a lot easier for new players, but they didn't take away like the difficulty, and it still looks like it's super, in depth. A lot of different weapons. The new monsters look super cool. That like the giant spider looking thing looks cool. I want its armor, so I can't wait.
But other than that, it was okay.
Yeah,
a solid 7
out
of
of
10
for sure.
Yeah.
Did you say solid 10 out of 10?
7 out of 10. I don't know if 10 out of 10 would have been that.
I was just, yeah. I was like, I'd probably give it an 8 overall. I'd say it's like an 8 overall for me.
But other than that, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on. Unless you have anything you want to ask, or
no, I mean in terms of like the direct or anything, no, I can't think of anything. I mean, going back to like the conversation with Attack on Titan, I'd just be fascinated to pick your brain more.
Sure, let's
in
talk
terms
about
of.
it.
You know, you're binging it for the first time. You're unfamiliar with this. Like, I kind of want to know who your favorite characters are, what your favorite arcs have been. You know, what you're looking forward to, where you think the story is going, any of that kind of stuff.
Sure. This is a little bit of this is the conspiracy theory corner, I guess, at this point.
That's it. That's it. Exactly.
So I get where do I stop? Favorite character? Damn. This one's a little challenging because they kind of differentiate every season. I think for the most part. It's been Levi.
Let's go.
Levi's been a consistently good character and well-developed character throughout the entire show.
Yes.
I won't lie in saying that I still think Eren is a very exceptional character as well.
Eren's one of the best protagonists, I'd say, of any shonen, man. I love Eren. Yeah.
I don't know. There's especially now in season 4, I'm starting to like him a lot more.
Yeah.
And also in season 4, I think I'm starting to become a big fan of Armin as well. I wasn't too hot on him at first.
From the beginning, really?
No, I wasn't too hot on the Armin train at first, but I think now it's.
Wow.
I'm starting to get on that board or that train.
He got that colossal boost, is what happened.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, speaking of which, I liked Erwin as well. Erwin was I was a huge fan of Erwin.
Yeah, Erwin's one of my favorite characters too in the whole series. I just feel like from beginning to end, he was an interesting character. And when you know what happens with him, it was a devastating moment for me when I first read it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but other than those characters, I can't say anyone else stands out exceptionally well to me. I don't think there's a character I absolutely despise other than that, what's his name? Flock? The guy with the red hair. Yeah. Get him out. Get him out of the show.
You're not a manga reader?
No. Hell no. Get him out, man.
You say that now!
Get him out of the damn show, man.
Yeah. Flock is,
Get him out.
He's a piece of work, man. He's a piece of work, that Flock. Yeah. Fearman's in your chat saying F Gabby, that's all.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely now. Yeah, at the beginning I wasn't there. I wasn't there, but yeah, again, definitely.
Yeah, there's the Gabby haters and the Gabby goaters. Everybody either loves or hates Gabby.
Gabby is not a Gabby. No, not a goat.
By the end of the series, I am curious what people will think of her.
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll see. What else? What else did you want to here?
Just
The
everything, man.
arcs?
Like your general, yeah. What is like your favorite arc so far? What was the moment that really hooked you that went like, okay, I need to keep watching more of this? Anything. Like I'm fascinated by talking about Attack on Titan.
So with season 2, I think when they started touching on different storylines and stuff, I was like, okay, I can see where some things are heading towards in some direction. And then they hit the bloodline stuff, and I was like, wait.
Yes.
I was like, wait, wait. Let's rewind a little bit. What are you talking about? And what was it with the? I think it was at the end of season 2 with the punch. I think.
Yeah, so where he punches Dina smiling
yeah.
Right.
And
then the blood of the royal family.
That was such a good scene, and I was like,
dude,
I'm
amazing.
here for it.
Yeah.
I am here for it, because at that point, you don't know the full story, and you're thinking Aaron's about to, like, ascend. This is like a Super Saiyan 2 moment, essentially.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, Aaron's about to pop off. This show is about to get, like, immensely better. It still does, but it doesn't go in the direction I was thinking. But with season 3, it, like, expands on so much, and like the basement stuff, I was like, that's not even what I was thinking about. Like I had totally different ideas of what it was, other than the fucking books. I was like,
you're like, what is it? There's books with photographs with like modern technology.
I was like, geez, what are we? What's going on? I literally thought it was gonna be like, okay, there's some serums in the basement or something like that.
Sure, I think that's what a lot of people expected, is that the other serums would be in the basement.
Yeah, I was like, there's gonna be serums. They're gonna make like a Titan super army or something, and they're gonna kill all the other Titans. But I think the overarching lore of Attack on Titan now, and with all the Ymir stuff, I'm a huge fan of. I love that type of. I know it's not for everybody, where like bloodline type powers are like well written for them or are interesting for them, but the way they're doing it with Titans and all of that, it's, I don't know, it's capturing me in a good way.
Sure. That's good that you mentioned that too, because again, you will get more in that realm in terms of like story of
I better hope to God, because there's a lot of like untied
there's
ends.
a lot of unanswered questions. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. The music's insane again. Sawano is absolute god. I knew the soundtrack would be good because I knew he was the composer, and he did damn it, what are the other shows? Have you watched Alden Zero? Have you watched Alden Zero?
I have not. No.
Alden Zero is a garbage mech anime. And
the music?
I would never recommend watching it, but the anime in that show, it literally carries the show. The music is just absolutely amazing. I would just recommend you just look up Aldnoah Zero soundtrack on YouTube.
How do you spell that?
It's ALDNOAH dot like period and then zero, like written, all written, no numbers.
Aldnoah Zero.
Yeah.
This is it. I got it. Yeah.
Amazing soundtrack. Some of the best battle music I've ever heard. Amazing.
Really?
Other than Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan has some great stuff.
It's funny you mentioned that with Attack on Titan's music this season too, because like that's something I've seen from a lot of people who, you know, like subscribe to me, who are then also like you watching the anime for the first time, like unaware of what's going on in the story, have only experienced the other previous seasons. And the music for a lot of people did not hit this season. They did not like it the same way. But I think it's important to keep in mind, especially with where you are in the anime, like this isn't a spoiler for anything, is, you know, you have these new characters that are being introduced. So there are obviously new musical themes that need to be added for these characters. And you really don't hear any of the classic like da 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 kind of stuff until Aaron and the rest of them arrive in Marley.
That's what I was going to say.
Is, like sort of kept hidden. So instead you're hearing like bum 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 bum.
It's
bum,
actually
bum, bum.
It's so funny you're mentioning this, because I'm eventually going to make a YouTube video on it, because when I was watching Attack on Titan, I realized it. Sawano likes to compose his music a lot with leitmotifs, and that's like that's the thing you catch on. It's a good way of composing music to a certain extent, because your brain recognizes, oh damn, this is something big is gonna happen here. Something's about to go down. So they always reincorporate that one theme, and so when you hear that, like the when you hear that, you're like, okay, it's about to go down. Or when you hear Reiner or Bertholt's theme as
Right.
well,
Right.
that's
Right.
like you just recognize it immediately. And Sawano does that in
Exactly.
every piece of work he's done. Like with Alno Zero, you'll hear it for sure, and it definitely comes into play with the anime itself. He does it with what's there's a Gundam anime he did a soundtrack for.
Oh, I gotta check that. I like Gundam, so I would check
Unicorn,
that out
Gundam
for sure.
Unicorn, Gundam yeah,
Oh,
Gundam
okay.
Unicorn. That's also another great soundtrack, and he did it with Chronicles. So
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, of course, Chronicles. Yeah, yeah.
like
Really, really good.
he's so intelligent in the way he wants to push that feeling onto the listener. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video on it, and I'm gonna go way more in depth on it.
Save it for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you picked up on that, because that is definitely something for me that, like, as somebody who, going back to the very beginning of this, where we were talking about like my theater experience and musical theater and English and all this stuff, like that's something I was acutely aware of. And I think a big reason why I like Attack on Titan is because of the music and how it literally tells the story in song, where you can literally play that scene of the invasion of Marley from season 4 and not have anything on the screen, and I could tell you what characters are present in that scene just based on the music alone. And I think that is such a powerful thing when you're actually able to pull it off correctly and still make it like a cohesive, exciting experience.
Yeah.
So I absolutely adore the
I've
music of Attack on Titan. It's fantastic.
I've been working out lately to the Attack on Titan soundtrack because it's so
It's great to work out to, yeah. So then I'm curious. This was the other major thing I wanted to ask you: is where do you see the story going? Knowing what you know now, and not knowing anything about the manga or the anime, the rest, like moving forward or whatever, like where do you think the story is ultimately leading to? Like, what do you think is going to be the end of it, and what do you think is like short term going to be happening soon?
So
I'm just curious.
with what I know now, there's 100% no way I can predict it because there's one key piece of information that I'm still missing. But with the way they ended the last episode, it's kind of slipping my mind because it's kind of like a mishmash now. That's the one thing that's the downside to binging. It kind of mishmashes if you don't really absorb it all.
Sure.
I definitely see Falco being like he's the key at some point. He's gonna be that one catalyst for something at the end.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that Levi's gonna fuck up somewhere with Zeke. I think there's too much underlying resentment for him towards Zeke with what happened with Erwin.
Sure.
I think Elena and what's his name? Niccolo,
yeah.
I think they're up to something for sure.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
100%, because there's no reason for them to introduce that character. There's just absolutely no reason. Well, maybe for Niccolo, there's no reason really, but Yelena, we'll see. And
it's established that Niccolo has a relationship with Sasha, so
yeah, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think that's really necessary. I don't think it was.
Yeah, sure.
Like if you just randomly brought it up and then not have that be introduced for any other character in that squad, like. Maybe with Connie, with Connie when they brought up his family, sure, that had something to do with the overarching plot. With Mikasa had something to do with the overarching plot, but like why bring up like maybe a guy like Sasha? Like what is that? There's something there that needs to be linked with another piece of information that's going to come down the line. What else was there? I'm trying to think about what happened. I was shocked that honestly, Eren, when he dropped down, not dropped down, but when with that first attack, he could have ate all of them, like straight up. He could have just won right there.
Oh yeah.
So there's gonna be some plan with Reiner as well, I believe. But other than that, I can't think too much. I think maybe that black-haired lady with the Ackerman thing, I forget her name, Oshiaki or something like that.
Oh, Asuma Bito.
Yeah, that's her name. There's some things some politics stuff is gonna happen,
Sure.
But other than that, I can't see too far into the future with what I have. I'm trying to go over some stuff.
I think it's interesting, just the things you're picking up on. I think are good. Yeah, I really don't want you to speculate more than that. I feel like you're gonna go in and
because like the
so
timeline that what I see is I see that Aaron's gonna be like, okay, the plan is we have to do something with Zeke because he's got royal blood, and I don't want to fuck up Historia. So what's gonna happen is he's gonna try to do something with Zeke, and then Levi's gonna be like, I hate Zeke. He's gonna kill Zeke, or someone's gonna end up eating him and consuming him, or something weird. Something's gonna happen to Zeke that prevents their plan from continuing, which will then lead to Historia having to take that mantle in place of Zeke. Because didn't they like come across like hundreds of serums that they brought over from the mainland or something like that? I forget what it was, but I know they have in possession a bunch of serum. So I'm pretty sure like something's gonna happen with Historia, with Zeke, with Levi, and Aaron. I think those are the four big points. And then there's probably something with Nicolo and Yelena as well. That's what I see.
All right. That's cool.
And
That's
Falco.
cool.
And Falco, yeah.
It's cool to know that. All right.
But yeah, I'm probably off. I'm probably so off.
I am fascinated to see what not just your reaction is going to be, but I think like the internet's reaction. I mentioned this pretty early on into this. I brought this up on Japan Time even too. I think, we barely touched on it during this podcast, and we've been going for a while, so I don't want to go too much longer. But like, Demon Slayer was such a monster hit over the course of the past year and a half that really changed up the game for shonen. And I think that was so much due in part to episode 19 of Demon Slayer. And I was pretty certain going into this season that I knew the episode that was going to be the quote unquote episode 19 moment. And we have passed that now in Attack on Titan. And knowing how they're pacing this out now, I'm sort of realizing, oh, no, this is going to be the episode 19 moment. This is going to be the thing that brings a lot of people in. I assumed the Marley attack would be that, right? I assumed a lot of people were going to be like, whoa. But no, because a lot of people don't have the same connection with that character yet. They're still relatively new characters.
It's not the connection that they have. It's what it is they're still climbing that roller coaster to the climax. With the ending of season 3 and the introduction to all of those characters in season 4, there's no way with the capacity of time that they have left that they can make a resolution at this point. And especially with all the info that they haven't laid out for the viewer, there's absolutely no way. So
what I get completely their choice of saying, oh no, this is it. This is our season. Because especially for people, like, obviously you watch a lot of anime, so like, oh, there's something that's going to happen, But I think
it's
for
so
people
different,
who are
though.
Casual viewers, I think, are probably going to be in that position of like, okay, but how are they going to wrap this up in 4 episodes? How are they going to wrap this in 3 episodes? They're going to get to that second episode. How is this going to wrap up in 2 episodes? And I could easily see them doing something that tricks people into thinking that it's going to end. And if the first part of the season ends where I think it's going to end, I think the second half of the season is going to be the thing in which Attack on Titan dominates the zeitgeist again in the same way it did during season 1. I think it's going to be everywhere. I mean, it already is kind of everywhere this season now. I mean, it's crashing Crunchyroll and Hulu and all this stuff, but I feel like even more so, it's going to completely take over the zeitgeist. So I'm so excited when we get to that point and what your reaction is going to be.
I think it's going to be one of those shows where the climax is like 3 episodes from, or not even 3 episodes, or like 2 episodes before it completely ends. Like, it's just going to have like a really, yep, that happened. This is what happens afterwards. That's the end of it. Like, it's going to be very quickly wrapped up.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Okay. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see for sure.
Again, I'm out of the loop on a lot of stuff. You know more than me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that's about it. I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I think we went over a lot.
This was fun. This was really good.
Do you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to tell the viewers?
I mean, right now, like I said, I'm doing the first ever watch through of the Naruto series, the Naruto anime. I'm doing that every Friday, Saturday, and Monday on Twitch at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to check out any of the videos with the reactions of those, you can watch them on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RogersBase. Additionally, I do live reactions and reviews of One Piece, the One Piece manga, the Attack on Titan final season, the Attack on Titan manga, Solo leveling, Arise. I see Viram in the chat. Arise indeed. As well as like live reactions to Nintendo stuff and playthroughs of Nintendo stuff. So if you like Nintendo, if you like anime, if you like Japan games or Japanese games, basically, I'm your guy.
If you're a weeb, follow Roger, essentially.
That's it, yeah.
In a nutshell.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyways, that's going to do it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you had a great time. Next week, I got someone big on the chopping block, so you're going to want to stay tuned. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys next week with another friend. Take care.
Bye, everybody.